So I start every podcast with one question. Where were you born?
I was born in India.
Really?
Yeah, I was born in India.
So how long after being born did you come here?
So, born in India, 87. Little brother's born 89. 90, my dad gets a job in India. 91, we come over. 92, my mom is like, I miss my family, and takes us back. 93, my dad's like, I miss you guys. We come back, and then we're here ever since.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how was it kind of like being uprooted multiple times and just kind of like being transported? And I mean, never been to India, but I'm pretty sure it's like the complete opposite of Texas.
Yeah, so
Except for the heat.
Except for the heat. That's why there's a lot of Indians here. Yeah, it was we just got used to it because we moved around until I was in 5th grade. And then we moved to Dallas. We moved around all over the United States, like wherever my dad got a job, we just kind of picked up and moved.
What'd your dad do?
My dad's an IT consultant.
Okay.
So he's an IT guy.
So like networking,
Well,
software.
he was like programming, yeah.
Okay, so software engineering.
Yeah, software
things like
engineering for sure. So, and then he was on his, so at that time it was like wherever you get contracts, you just go. So, he would just, 1 year, I would just be in like one grade, like one city, and then we would just move. Like that summer, we would uproot and move.
And was it because he was contract based?
Yeah.
And just not permanent yet?
Yeah.
Okay, and like around 5, it became permanent, or?
5th grade.
Oh, 5th grade. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So,
5th
like,
grade. Yeah, no, 5th grade. My mom was like, "Hey, we can't keep doing these to these kids. We gotta like maybe we should buy a home here. Dallas has a lot of it's a good community, a lot of Indians here and stuff. So let's just build let's buy a home here." My dad still traveled until like my junior year of high school. He was like a weekend dad for me. Like I didn't see him Monday through Thursday night through Sunday was it was all dad. So. That's just how it was, though. Immigrant family, you know how it is.
No, yeah, I know exactly how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very understandable that one or both parents can be absent and grandparents take over the role in a lot of situations. Yeah. It's kind of obscure and weird to a lot of people that are born here, but for us, it's normal to have.
It's just a normal thing,
Because for us, it's not just like a saying; it's truth. It does take a village to raise. Seriously, everybody pitches in.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, my parents found like their South Indian community here. Like they found the people that were just like them, and they like live in this like little South Indian bubble.
So what does that mean? Because again, I'm not too familiar with Indian culture. Is there a big difference between the North and the South, or?
Yeah, so India is made up of like 24 different states.
Okay.
Right, and there's varying. Each state has its like own language, like almost its own cultural stuff too. Maybe they do different stuff during the holidays and everything. We have all the major holidays, but maybe there's some little specifics that they do differently. The North speaks a completely different language than the South. There's like predominantly like Hindi, Punjabi, Gujarati, Urdu up north, and then down south it's like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam. There's other ones too, but I'm just.
So you just proved that pretty much all of the Indian people that I know are from the north side because of the dialects you just... It's like Hindu, Urdu? Urdu, and then there was another one.
Punjabi. Yeah.
So I've heard, just with different relationships, people that you kind of get to know over time that like, oh yeah, my family speaks this language and my family is Hindi. And like, okay, so...
Yeah.
You're kind of like the first guy I know from the South, I guess.
Yeah, South Indian dude. I married a North Indian chick. I married a North Indian. South Indian Turks didn't give me a chance. They never gave me a chance.
So is there a kind of like an issue with marrying into the South? Into the North? Sorry.
No, I don't think so. There's like, now it's like.
So Indian's Indian, doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. I think now, because we were a little bit older, and I think our parents were like, hey, yo, is it even going to happen for these guys? Right?
Oh, okay.
When me and my wife got married. And I think at some point they were just like, oh, he brought home an Indian girl, same religion. Oh my God, let's do this. Like that was kind of their thing. So
did the religion play a big role?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was like pretty important to my parents.
Do you mind me asking what is the religion at home?
I'm Hindu.
Hindu. Okay.
I'm Hindu. I'm practicing Hindu. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is your wife?
Yeah, my wife is Hindu as well.
What is Hindu as a religion? Again, I'd like to get more familiar with it. Curiosity.
So Hinduism is where we're called Hindus, and people, we practice Hinduism,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Hinduism is it's like one of the oldest religions in the world, right? We don't even really call ourselves Hindus in any text or anything. That was the name given to us by the British when they came down because of the Indus Valley, right? Hindus or whatever. So that's just kind of what they gave us. But it's like a way of life. It's like a practicing way of life. We have different gods. We have all these different gods, but at the end of the day, it's a monotheistic religion.
Okay.
All these different gods are just different representations of this one and one supreme being kind of thing.
So it's like split off into parts.
Yeah, it just makes
comes
it
together into one.
Yeah, it just makes it easier to maybe worship for like, oh, if this deity is like the goddess of wealth, let me, hey, let my job, like, I hope everything at work goes well. Let me get my blah, 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 that sort of stuff, and this is like the goddess of education. Okay. Let me, hopefully I do well in my studies. Like, let me pass my test, like that. But everything at the end of the day, it's this one nameless entity kind of thing.
So I guess it's kind of similar to in Catholicism with the saints, and how all the saints have different candles and they have statues, and people actually pray to certain saints for certain things.
Yeah, for sure.
cool.
It's there's so many similarities between all these. At the end of the day,
You're kidding.
we're all saying the same thing, right?
What, you really?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
You mean none of us know what the hell actually happened, but we all have a representation of a story passed down, and then at some point written, and then still passed down, and then screwed up along the way. Every single religion has had
Every
this.
single one, man.
Tell me which one hasn't had that happen. I'll probably start thinking about looking into that one more.
Scientology.
It's not a religion; it's a cult. Live in California for 30 years, you
Oh,
will
yeah,
understand that very
you know
quickly.
all about it, yeah.
Yes, because almost every single church I knew of in Los Angeles had a church, and that was about it, except for the Latter-day Saints. They owned most of California. It's weird.
Wow, really? Okay.
But Scientology also had a ton of properties and resorts and all this other stuff for Scientology and their upper-ups, and you're like, this is not really a religion anymore. You guys have city blocks.
Yeah,
You're kind of becoming the Vatican, but we don't want you to be.
that's wild. I watched all the documentaries. I've seen all these the Leah Remini show or whatever. I watched that too, man. Yeah, Scientology, man. Wow.
I'll be honest, man. If you're actually there and you see the sheer scale, and if you understand what Los Angeles real estate is, you're like, oh, wow. Where the hell did you get this kind of money?
Wow, really?
It's like probably multiple billions of dollars worth of real estate.
That is insane. And they get away with all sorts of stuff.
They're in the greatest parts of town.
A lot of people moved down, huh?
A ton have, and a ton are still trying to. And I still get a bunch of calls from associates and acquaintances that are like, hey, how's that cowboy life going? And you're like, oh, it's great, because you don't want those people to move.
Yeah.
And then other people, you're like, it's awesome, dude. You should come check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's the ones that moved during the pandemic or a little bit right after the pandemic, depending on when you gauged when it ended. Texas stopped it in March, but everybody else kept continuing.
Yeah.
So you guys were a little different.
Yeah.
But if you're moving now, you're just too late.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you didn't want to. It wasn't a willing choice. Now you're doing it because you're forced.
Also, housing prices are crazy right now. So good luck. Yeah. So good luck with
nuts.
that. Yeah.
So your family landed in Dallas, you said. Ultimately, you guys bought a house. Where in Dallas?
Plano. I'm a Plano kid.
There you go.
Yeah.
A bunch of people from Plano.
Yeah.
You guys moved to Plano when Plano was still developing, huh?
Yeah, there was no. Okay, so
Was Legacy even a thing?
Okay, Legacy was not a thing. The Cinemark on 75 and Legacy.
Yeah.
I was there before then. That was just a field. We used to ride our bikes in that field and shit.
So you guys straight up saw that city come alive.
I saw so much stuff come up.
And for those that don't know, Plano, Louis Vuitton's there, Golden Goose is there, some of the best restaurants you could think of are
there's also,
all on Legacy.
Yeah.
It's just in Plano, and you're like, why is this here?
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really, really nice. But it's even better, I guess, you guys seeing the development of all of that.
when you get to West Plano, you'll see why all those places are there. Plano East, Plano, regular Plano is just kind of okay suburbs, and then West Plano, you're like, yo, this is crazy. It's the money is in West Plano.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
they're the school Plano West, the only school that had a parking garage for the students.
So it's like Dallas versus the Park Cities.
Yeah, exactly.
So that gets you to 5th grade. Your parents, and it's you, your brother, you said?
Yeah, me, my brother, mom, and dad.
That's it for no more kids after you guys
Nah,
moved?
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys, 5th grade, it goes on. You're staying in Dallas. You go to Plano schools, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so what inspires kind of like the creative side of you? Where did that kind of, because almost nobody that I've spoken to started out wanting stand-up comedy except for one person. Everybody started out doing something else, and then kind of like art drove them into stand-up.
Yeah, I think so. For me, it was when you move around a lot, like you have to be able to make friends really quickly. Otherwise, you're just gonna, you're gonna be the weirdo kid that moved into school, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I would move in the middle of a year, and so the only way to make friends is like you just got to be funny, you got to be stupid. So I was always like a class clown kind of thing, and then definitely like I was like that one Indian. I became a DJ like 16. I like got turntables. I like became a DJ.
What was your name?
Free Mix a Lot.
That's actually pretty good, man.
That was my screen name on AOL. And baby, shout out old if anybody knows what's
Free
up.
Mix a Lot.
Yeah, that was my.
That's actually really good. Like
It was
school vibes.
It was
nice.
pretty cool, right? It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So I became a DJ. I was DJing all these like all the Indian chicks like Sweet 16s at the time and stuff.
How many moms came up to you during that stuff trying to set you up with their daughter?
I
Had
was.
to have happened at least a couple.
I think it was because I was also like 17, 16 at the time, right? So they were like, I don't know
Too
about
soon?
this. Yeah, they were like, I don't know about this kid.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't me that they were looking at, They were like, this guy a DJ, I don't know. So
But were you killing it at the parties?
yeah, I was making bank. I was making more money than a lot of kids. So that part was sick. And then like being able to do music, like I was making beats with my friends. We were like working on Fruity Loops and Reason. Like we were doing all these like drum beats and stuff. Like they were like making rap albums. I liked producing. So going the DJ route was really cool. And then like it was like to be an Indian kid DJ in Plano, like all the like you end up getting some kind of pool, with all the other Indian chicks and stuff, right? So that was always cool. So
it played to your advantage, I'm guessing.
yeah,
a
hell
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. And then in college, me and my boys, we were always messing around with like music and stuff. And
Where'd you go to college?
I went to UTSA, San Antonio, UT San Antonio.
What'd you study?
I graduated with a biology degree.
Were you Indian parents backup plan doctor?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know what else do you do with the biology.
Well, they were
degree.
saying, well, it was supposed to be that way. It was like doctor, then PA, and then just me sitting down and telling my parents, like, I don't know if I want to do anything in medicine. So
but you still got a biology degree.
yeah, I was just like, let me at least finish the degree.
So this was like midway through it. You were kind of like, I don't want to do
Yeah,
this.
like I was outside the counselor's office junior year because that was the year they started talking about people taking the MCAT, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna take the MCAT. There's no way I'm taking the MCAT. I'm barely showing up to microbiome and shit. So,
For everybody that doesn't know what the MCAT is, it is the test that you take to apply for medical school, the same way the LSAT is the test you take to apply for law school.
yes,
And where the LSAT is a lot of critical thinking, the MCAT is, from what I know, it's just stupid hard, like science, math, and you have to know a lot of stuff memorized to be able to regurgitate tons of information.
oh, it was a lot of stuff, and it was just like even like some stuff that didn't even matter. I think right, like that was almost
Well, like what?
Like our degree, like OChem, like organics chemistry. I don't know how many people are doing when you're doing surgery, like organic chemistry matters, but maybe that's I don't know. I'm not a professional, right? Like there was just certain stuff like that was probably in the MCAT in my degree that I was like, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but
I think a lot of it might come down to not necessarily that you might need it, but on the broad, all physicians, depending where, like if you go into pharmacology, well, organic chemistry does come into play a lot.
oh yeah,
And into, I'm sure,
Yeah.
a million other fields inside and outside of medicine that I just don't know about.
for sure.
But I also know from friends that are, that have done biology and chemistry as like degrees and few that are doctors, they always say the exact same thing. Organic chemistry is really hard.
No, it was ridiculous.
Like
I
they
don't
say
even
it's stupid hard.
I don't even know how I passed that class, man. I literally
And I think
it was a
it's
Hail Mary thing for me.
maybe it was like a setup. Like you have to go through one of the toughest classes to set you up to go through the rest of medical school and becoming a physician and like this, because like doctors will tell you themselves, it's extremely stressful, especially for surgeons.
Bro, for sure.
You could be doing 10, 14 hours on
100%.
your feet and
Yeah.
just like intricate surgery depending on what field you go into. And
Yeah.
maybe there's a reason they like just kind of like hell week you or something.
No,
in school.
I think it's definitely made to weed out. Okay, look, real talk. I knew a kid that took it 4 times. 4 times.
The Caribbean took him from med school, I'm guessing.
No, the counselor. I remember he told me like after the 4th time, his counselor was like, "Yo, maybe we should look into something else," And he was like, "Okay, yeah." So, but he's doing well right now. He did well off. So
I never took OChem, but like I said, from what I've heard, it's just like it's one of those stupid,
what
ridiculously hard things.
what did you do?
I did a degree in communications.
Okay,
I did
cool.
something solidly easy compared to trying to become a doctor.
I don't even know why I did that. It was just like the thing to say and do, I think, at the time. Because at the time I just was like, okay, everybody's doing bio or business. Let me just go science. I've always been interested in science. Let me go science. But then afterwards I was like, I don't want to do my career in this and stuff. So I don't know. So
Honestly, a lot of the reason I went to college is to, appease your parents. And because immigrant family, first generation.
100%.
They want to see that tassel and the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's important for them. But outside of that, I was always in the back of my mind thinking, you're going to have kids one day. They should see that you were able to start something and complete it, because the question will inevitably come up of, hey, did you go to college? And you're like, yeah, I did. Here's what you did. Like, I did other things in my life, but I was there. I did that 4 years and completed it just like everybody else does. But when I left college, I finally understood why I was there to begin with. It wasn't to learn to be a better communicator or to have that degree. It was just to learn how to think, to take what would have been a lot of bullshit, and just a lot of people come out of college thinking like they are so smart because they were taught a lot, but they didn't actually do the one thing that was most important in college, is learn how to think.
right.
And I'm glad that I got out of college what I was supposed to. Like, I learned how to think. That's why I didn't try to get a job in journalism or something. I was like, why don't I just pursue other things and see what happens?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that I went to college because it taught me the skill of thinking.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, unless I did something like science or mathematics or engineering where, I genuinely believe you should have a degree if you're going to be a doctor or a scientist or something to that degree.
For sure.
It's important.
It is. I definitely think it's important, but I think for me, I kind of knew, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to really go down that route. I think I just kind of said it just to say whatever. But at the end of the day, I got the degree. I graduated with the degree. My parents were cool with it. They were like, what are you going to do? And I was like, let me just figure it out. So I ended up, I figured it out. I just kind of went with the flow of things. So like, you hustle. I'm a recruiter. I'm an IT recruiter.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got like.
So what does that mean, an IT recruiter?
So in
Aren't
companies,
you guys in like a cool market right now?
Well, so in you can be like, there's 2 sides of recruiting. There's like staffing, and then there's like corporate recruiting.
Okay.
I'm on the corporate recruiting side, so like I work for a specific company, and that company has positions, and then they have positions that are open. So then I like try to fill those positions because I work for that company.
And they're all IT related, I guess.
So I say IT because that's my primary focus or whatever, but I kind of recruit on everything. So
okay.
yeah.
How's that? Is it like fulfilling in any way, or is it just kind of like a gig?
It is the day job, man. That's my day job. Like that, I'm a little bit older than
38, I'm guessing.
35.
35. Well, 1985 was when you were born.
87.
Oh, 87 was your.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought.
Nah, you took cool. So I'm a little bit older. I'm married too. So I can't not have a day job. You know what I'm saying? I got to be able to support my wife. Like I started comedy after I got married, so it's very much. Hey, until it starts to get to a certain point, money-wise or whatever, I'm going to have a day job. That's just it.
You got any little ones running around yet?
Nah. Okay. We're expecting, though.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Do you know, boy or girl?
We recently just found out. I'm going to keep it secret online right now, you know what I'm saying? But
not like anybody cares, or sees this.
Yeah.
On the
just
off
out of
chance
respect,
this does go viral. Hey, why not? Two guys with a beard not talking about blowing anything up.
It's awesome. Yeah, exactly. It's more respect for my wife, kind of telling me, hey, keep it chill on that. But we have found out. We're super excited.
Well, hopefully you'll let me know off camera.
I will. I will definitely.
I'll send the care package.
Yeah.
When is the little one coming?
October 1st.
Hey.
There you go.
I'm hoping your little one's gonna have some of that.
I hope so.
Stuff,
it's gonna come from our side of the family.
Not your wife, huh?
yeah, no, they're dancers. They can dance. They got rhythm.
Okay.
They got rhythm, but all the musical stuff, the other talents, so that's all my side.
So who's on the musical side on you? Like who's musical in your family?
Me and my brother are both. We grew up playing instruments. Like I was like a violin kid, keyboard, DJing, and then just making beats and stuff. And I have a guitar. I have a ukulele. I have electric guitar. Keyboard at home.
Is
stuff.
this all like self-taught at some point?
Yeah, it's just all self-taught. And then, but I did play. So the violin, I played until my senior year of high school, and then I was playing like on the opposite side. Like I was doing like the Carnatic violin as well. So
I'm not familiar with that.
so India has their own version of playing the violin.
Okay.
So I learned that style as well.
And what would be the key difference for someone that would know the violin traditionally, let's say? Or
So
contemporary, I guess.
yeah, so like Eastern style music is very Western style music is like it's all based off of like do re mi fa sol la ti do.
Yes.
Yeah, so Eastern style music like Indian it's almost the same, but we go through different notes. Their notes are like sari gama pa da ni sa, and it's almost kind of like a similarity, but there's variations of notes within the notes or whatever. So like on the sari gama pa sa, so they play the violin sitting down and like resting on your leg. It's a different style of play.
How interesting.
Yeah.
I bet acoustically it even sounds different because it's got more under it.
Yeah, and
because of that versus on the shoulder where a lot of it is just sticking out in the air where you would have probably more reverb.
So the thing is like being able to like slide on the string while you're playing. So it's a lot of that
With your hand?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Wow.
Because it's easier to go because it's up against your chest, laying on your heel, right? And then so you can
How
like
big is the violin?
it's not that big. It's like
Is it the standard size or is it bigger than?
no standard size.
Standard size violin.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Adult size, standard size violin. Yeah.
How cool is that? So
Yeah.
You learned both styles.
I learned both styles.
There's a Western and Eastern style.
Yeah, and then my
playing.
brother was like more the percussionist. He played the cello until like sophomore year or something, and then he was playing the drums. He was playing the tabla and all that sort of good stuff. So
And is he still doing music?
yeah, he still does music. He got really into like I said, like making beats and rapping. Now he's like he's really into like making beats himself, sampling stuff and
Really?
doing all that stuff. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything we would have heard, maybe?
Nah, I don't think so. Nothing. I don't know if he's ever putting anything out like that. He's got a SoundCloud for sure, but nothing.
Shout it out, man.
SoundCloud, I think is man, what's his name? Saint on SoundCloud or something like that. Saint SAINT or something like that on SoundCloud.
All right.
There you go.
If that's him, Saint on SoundCloud.
Saint on SoundCloud.
But besides you and your brother, is there like a family history? Does it go back on your dad's side or your mom's
Nah,
side?
man.
Anything like that?
Yo, no, not at all. Even in India, it's not even something our cousins did or whatever. My dad's always been interested in music. He's always been he's always just been that guy that's always kind of been like, oh, let's go music, let's go the arts route. That was cool to have that support kind of growing up as a kid.
Which is crazy to think the guy's like, IT, very founded in like, just stringent rules of like
Yeah.
go to college, get a job. And if you need to move around for that job, you move around for that job. Like,
Yeah.
He seems like a company man. And here he is like espousing, hey, dude, go do some creative stuff, have fun or something.
I think it's more like kind of like he's given us the opportunities he never had. I think he wishes he kind of had, right?
So secretly your dad's an artist. He just never had the chance.
Yeah,
to,
because
like,
he's always
flourish.
listening to music. He's always like singing to himself, like at the home and stuff. You know how it is. You catch him like singing alone and all that stuff. So I could tell like maybe in a different life.
Your pop
Right.
sounds like a cool guy, man.
Yeah, he's pretty chill. He's pretty cool.
I think there is a lot to be said for men that put aside their dreams for their families. Dreams.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
They make their families' dreams their dreams. Like
Yeah.
you have to. It's admirable. I respect men that have, and there's many that have done that.
Yeah.
that will put everything aside to make sure their kids have opportunities.
And that's kind of like the immigrant story, right? Like that first generation that moves here is all about the sacrifice.
Dude, I wish there was a pill I can give all of America to feel like an immigrant for like 2 months.
Oh, 100%, man.
You'd start valuing the shit
100%.
out of this country so much more.
I host a show at,
Oh, yeah?
DC,
Which
at,
one?
D- at DCC. It's called the Brownout.
So DCC is Dallas Comedy Club for everybody. that
Yeah,
doesn't
Dallas
know.
Comedy Club, the Brownout, right? I had just this Friday, sold out show, awesome.
Nice.
I had an ad running for the show. Someone on the ad, this white guy was like, what is this racially segregated show? What is up with this? Where's the white show? And everybody like that chimed in was like, that's just comedy in America, bro. That's, like, and then he was like,
You know what? Fuck that. Look at the Mount Rushmore that I have of comedians.
I know.
How much color do you see up there?
I mean,
You see one, right?
yeah. I mean,
You
it's
see
black and
one,
white
right?
for a reason, right? Yeah, exactly. No,
Like, it's what kind of a moron are you? Like, go to any open mic, go to any comedy club
know.
on any
Yeah.
any night, and you're going to see. Yes, it's going to be a mixed bag of a bunch of different types of men, women, and everything in between. But it's a lot more white than it is anything else.
yeah.
Especially like in middle of America, maybe.
And it's
I don't know about like the coast, because the coast could be, they're so diverse. I mean, not that Dallas isn't diverse. That
Yeah.
would be unfair. But you understand, like coastal states are just crazy.
No, coastal states definitely they have their scene, and everybody has like even the minorities have their scene, right?
Yes.
The minorities have their shows and everything, and so that's why I was like, hey, let me bring something like that here because we're missing something like that. We didn't really have like a brown show to or like some minority show. We weren't really doing that. The clubs weren't really doing that. Dallas Comedy Club was like, yo, we'll give you the chance to do it. So I ran that at that guy. I responded to that guy. I remember being like, yo, relax, dude. I put everybody up. I put up white girls on that show. I put up different people on that show. Like, just, it's my show. I'll put up whoever I want. But at the end of the day, I'm showcasing minorities. That's what I want to do. And that guy was like, relaxing is exactly how this happens. I experience racism every day.
As a white guy?
As a white guy, I experience racism every day, and I'm not allowed to say anything about it. Otherwise, I look like a Karen.
All right. Can I ask you a genuine question?
Yeah, please do.
As an Indian man living in this country for a vast majority of your life,
Yeah.
and most of it, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
in Texas,
Yeah.
how much racism have you experienced?
You see this beard?
Yeah?
You see this beard? This is immediately like when we walk out of this room, no one looks at me and is like, that guy is a Texan.
Right.
That's not the first thought. First thought, that's brown. Brown guy, beard.
Fuck the thought. How much racism have you
I've
experienced?
had it, man, here and there. I get it at shows, bro.
But
I get it
here
at
and
shows.
there, right?
Like I would say,
Why I'm saying this, and I apologize if I'm overstepping in any way, is like, if yours isn't on a daily basis because you've got a beard that a lot of traditional Muslim men wear.
Yeah,
a
they do.
beard like this.
yeah. They have
Where
very
it's
big.
much longer at the bottom than it is everywhere else. It's very traditional to a section of the world.
Longer than your fist.
I didn't know there was a rule. Okay, so longer than your fist is a
Yeah, I
thing?
think it's like Muhammad had his longer than his fist or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
thank you.
I grew up with
had
a lot of my friends are Muslim, so.
the Pakistani side or just
But just a mix because when we go to the mosque, like I used to hang out at the mosque and stuff, and it would just be a mix of everybody, right?
to that extent, like if for you growing up in Texas, and remember you went through 9/11 in Texas,
Yeah,
you
that
went
was-
through the financial crisis in Texas, you went through a bunch of Democratic presidents that I'm sure they weren't really happy with during that time period, and a lot of shit that like, if it was infrequent enough that you say it happened here and there, a white guy has no right to say shit when you live in Texas, dude. Come on. Let's be honest, dude. Who's gonna be racist to you?
I didn't want to be it's not like I ever even wanted to compare or anything because that's the last thing I want to do. Like if you are on a daily basis experiencing something, my God, like I'm sorry, right? Whatever your life stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't think it has nothing to do with that. I think he was just like upset the fact that the show was called, if maybe the show was called a brownout. I just didn't want to call it, hey, come see all the Indian people at the club.
But like, what's wrong with that? Okay, so in LA, they would do
Chocolate Sundays.
Chocolate Sundays. Thank
Yeah,
you.
chocolate
I've been to many a Chocolate Sundays.
I love Chocolate Sundays, yeah.
And yes, predominantly that crowd would be a darker skinned crowd, but white people would be there, Hispanic people would be there, Armenian people who I am would be there, Indian people would be there, like everybody would be there. Yes, predominantly black. Most of the comedians were black, but we knew what we were going to go see. We wanted to get that outlook from a person that has that perspective and could give us some funny shit.
It's just a
Why
different
is that
voice.
wrong?
It's just a different voice, man. And it's like showcasing. So my whole thing was like, hey, let me just showcase people that may not get an opportunity to be up all the time in front of a brown audience. That's the toughest thing, to get a brown audience out, because we want to. Yeah, I have jokes at the regular comedy club that I do all the time that I want to land for everybody. But then there's stuff that I want to talk about culturally wise, like I grew up wise. Like I know that other Indian people, other Indian kids experienced as well, that I want to talk about because I know the experience with Zonin taking Indian food to school. The whole academic parent thing. Those are all things that like hit hard, like connect with not just Indian people, but I think just like brown people across the spectrum, kind of thing, right? So,
So to that extent of taking Indian food to school, did you have that multi-layered lunch box?
bro, I never had that. I'm so glad I never had that. But I was the guy that was taking out the brown paper bag that was just leaking, like just
Okay.
oil just leaking. Yeah.
So what was the one dish that like everybody at school hated when you took to school?
Oh man, I can't even.
Or was your school like, everybody was kind of diverse too?
So it
I don't know
was.
what Plano was like back then.
So it was. It wasn't crazy diverse until 10th grade. It wasn't crazy diverse until 10th grade. I was like the only Indian in my school.
What year was that?
Oh, 9th and 10th grade. I think that was it. 9th and 10th. After middle school.
So
After
like
middle school.
2001, 2? 2002, 3?
Something like that. Probably 2000, 2001, 2002, maybe.
I wonder what,
So what happened, because in Plano, you go through 6th, 7th, and 8th in one school. That's middle school. Then 9th and 10th are one school. And then 10th and 11th, 9th and 10th, and then 11th and 12th are a different school. So that was Plano East was 11th and 12th, and then Clark was 9th and 10th. And Clark was this feeder. So all these schools, other middle schools would feed into Clark. And then so now all those, 1 or 2, 3 Indian kids that were just alone, now there was a group at this 9th and like this school. Now we were like a group of Indian kids.
got it.
Yeah.
I think there's a similar thing that happens in this area where I think they all go to different elementary schools, and then at some point they go to like 2 middle schools, and then everybody joins into a single high school.
Yeah,
something to that
something
extent.
like that. Yeah, because they separate because there's so many kids or whatever. They just separated out.
And that's like I think most of the parents that don't want to continue down that path hightail it into the private system between
Really?
middle and high school,
Dang.
unless they can get in earlier.
Dang, I don't know, man. I don't know. Private school is expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, it's expensive,
it's expensive. Yeah,
but
but I don't know if I trust these schools anymore with all these school shootings and shit too. So
it's not the school shooting thing, and I'll probably get a lot of shit for this, but I don't care. The amount of time, effort, and yes, money you can invest into your kids properly will pay off in spades when it comes time for you to want to like kick off your feet and relax. Because if you screw it up now, you're bound to take care of them for the rest of your life. But if you do it right now and you invest that time and money and effort, they will be well-off, independent human beings that are happy in their, or at least content in their lives, and they will leave you the fuck alone to enjoy your life once you get them to the finish line.
I don't know many immigrant kids that are not go-getters or whatever. Even if they're in the creative space, right? They're still hustlers in that space.
Yeah, I know a lot
Like
of bums, bro.
I-
Sorry, dude, but that's the probably the disparity of Los Angeles is just it's a much bigger city.
Probably that's what it is. The
It's
population
19
size.
million people.
Yeah,
Ton of them are immigrants. So when you get that many together,
yeah,
and that's the problem, is like not every parent came to this country wanting to instill the fear of that really sucked and you never want to go back to that.
yeah.
And then you just get lazy people.
So I think what happens is
Some
that
people think like they're supposed to deserve it. Like they deserve
Yeah.
You don't deserve anything.
100%. You got to work hard for it.
And like if you believe in God, if you were born, that's all God ever owed you. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I wish people would start understanding that, because they can start
No,
taking charge of their own life.
No, I hear you.
You were given a healthy life. That's it. That's all you were owed. The rest is up to you.
Yeah.
Especially in this country, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Especially in this country. I'm not talking about everybody needs to be Bezos, but you can live a very comfortable life if you just do the right thing.
You just got to hustle. There's a lot
dude,
about hustle.
You gotta hustle, but
There's-
like at one point it pays off, right?
No, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, dude, it's a lot of like, everybody at a certain point in their lives is putting blinders on and just keeping your head down and working to get to a certain point, to get to your different standard level of life, right? Like I remember sleeping on the same bed as my parents until like fourth or like fifth grade. When we moved here, got into an apartment, and it was the first time that me and my brother had bunk beds. And I remember it was like wild for us. I was like, oh shit, dude, we got bunk beds? Like we're going to have our own bed. Before we were all on one fucking mattress in the room. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's what we had. Like that was it. Like that's all we knew. One fucking mattress. We would all sleep together. My parents, my mom would wake us up. We would shower first, and then they would get ready, cook us. Like she would cook us meals, get us out of the house, come back. She's cooking again because they just cook again. So we would eat super late. We ate like 9 p.m., 8:30, 9 p.m. And then we'd go to sleep like 10, 11. That was our life, right?
Did mom work?
Yeah, mom worked. Both mom and dad worked, right? That was the life then. And then
I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of it comes down to like, especially for young kids, boys, seeing their moms having to work.
Yeah.
Not working because it is
what they wanted.
privilege.
Yeah.
Or you got a degree and all this, but like, no, back-breaking work.
Yeah.
Like, working downtown at some jewelry place, melting candles so the
Wow.
the gold setting is correct and
Yeah.
you get paid a penny a candle.
Wow.
That's bullshit. But a lot of immigrants did that, or working in the textile factories.
Yeah, like-
and like you're clipping off
Manual
fucking
labor
shit.
stuff. Yeah.
You've got scissors, glasses, and you're clipping off the threads from the automated machine,
Wow.
so it looks like
It's
whatever
nicer,
the hell
yeah,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be. You're making high-end shit. Like, most people don't get it. Like, when you're buying most of the crap that you buy, especially like a $700 T-shirt because it's got some asshole's name on it, some kid in a slave shop made that.
Oh,
for you.
100%.
I hope you understand that. I hope you're okay with that.
Oh yeah.
You paid $700 for some kid to never have a future.
I mean,
Putting it out there.
you remember when they were like finding notes?
Yeah.
They were finding notes. I don't even remember the Zara. I don't know. I don't think it's Zara. Some other company, but they would like find notes like, "Please help me."
And look, I'm just equally as much of a hypocrite as everybody else is. I have a cell phone in my pocket, full slave labor made
Oh,
that cell phone.
100%, yeah.
I have a crystal glass sitting here. I have an aluminum can. I know a lot of this shit had to do with crap being wrong in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but comes a certain point where you just have to kind of be like, why?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Capitalism.
Yeah.
It
like-
is. I mean, that's what kind of drives the world, right? So,
And right now, I hate to say this, but like, I fear that we don't have that shining beacon of hope anymore that all immigrants look to. That was the West.
oh no, I
That
don't,
was the United States.
dude. My family in India, that stay
They're cool.
well off, well fucking off. They came over here. They were like, "Hey, you don't got no servants, man? What is this, dude? You don't got no servants? You're doing your own laundry?" Like they were like that. I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, they have it. They have it super nice back there, man."
Bro, you want to hear a funny story? I worked with, and this is like 20 years ago at this point, like one of my first jobs as a kid. I worked at a Best Buy, and there was a manager dude, and fucking everybody made fun of this guy. He was an Indian guy, but like he was one of those penny pinching motherfuckers that would like make his own soles for his shoes so he wouldn't buy new shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, he was that kind of like frugal.
What is it? The millionaire next door kind of swag.
Yeah, like,
Secret millionaire.
And this
swag.
guy was, he was like the assistant manager. So 115 to 120K a year with bonuses. After taxes, he's taking 90.
That's nice. Yeah.
But that's bullshit. But for a guy with no degree and working at a Best Buy, you're doing good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There you go.
But what he told me was like, this guy was like 45 years old and he got the job at 18 at Best Buy. So like he worked his way up. He's like, I'm retiring next year. I bought like 15 acres in the village that I was born in India, built a 10,000 square foot house on it. I have maids, I have a butler, I have private cars, and he's like, I'm never going to work again in my life. He's like, this is enough. He's like, I've saved enough money that I will never work again, and everything will be catered, but I'm moving to India.
Dude, India's nice now.
This was like 20 years ago, so I'm guessing like this guy for like $100,000 would have lived for the rest of his life or something.
That's okay. So now, like India has like progressed. Like it is super nice now. It's not like the third world country. It's not like that. It's not the same place that I was seeing when I was going back like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. You know, like it's definitely progressed. My brother went back this last summer, and he called me up and he was like, "I could live here, dude. This place has changed."
So where in India were you guys from?
So we were born in Hyderabad, and that's kind of like the central of India, but it's like south. It's still considered the south.
What
and
is
then
it called again? Hyderabad?
Hyderabad, yeah.
Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my dad's family's from Chennai, so we're both so we kind of like go back and forth between both cities.
So for the people that kind of know like Mumbai,
So Mumbai is
where does that fall?
So that's more north.
More north.
That's more north,
And
that's
Bombay?
like Mumbai is Bombay. That's
Mumbai
what.
is Bombay. I'm
That's
sorry.
so they changed Bombay's name to Mumbai.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what they
So
don't call
what's
it
the
Bombay.
other big tourist, like what's tourist destinations in India? I know.
New Delhi.
Yes, New Delhi is.
New Delhi.
So where's that? Is that near you?
That's north again. That's
So
capital.
what in South do people come to see?
So south is like it's all the temples, man. We've got like the oldest temples in the world.
Okay.
We're talking about like we're talking about like way back. I think like some of them are like 300, 400 BC, like that sort of stuff. Like it's crazy how old. There's a lot of old temples.
Jesus Christ, it's 2,400 years old.
Yeah, it's like insane. It's insane.
Which the best part is, it's like it's kind of the math we do with it now.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows.
No one
unless,
really knows.
unless they've taken. So the theory is, if they haven't taken out anything organic that they can carbon date, which rocks are not.
Yeah.
They have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
They're just kind of sitting there going like, yeah, estimation
Yeah.
and da da da. But like, it's really hard, especially if it hasn't been covered by sediment and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like freestanding. They're like, no clue.
Yeah. Even in each region too, you have like all your palaces and stuff. They each like they have all the from back in the day, the kings and everything. So, and
So where's the Taj Mahal fall?
Agra, that's up north.
Up north.
Yeah.
God damn it. Gandhi.
Gandhi's up north. Gandhi up
So all
north.
the cool shit the West knows about India is all north.
Well, that was
related for
like
some
so. That's
reason.
like so New Delhi is the capital, right? So like if New Delhi is the capital, so all you're predominantly going to get more stuff from up north. Mumbai is Bollywood. Bombay is Bollywood. Mumbai
Yes.
is Bollywood. So you're going to get predominantly stuff from
Why was the name changed?
I don't know. I think
significant?
so. Madras changed to Chennai, and then Mumbai changed from Bombay, and I think it was like the people elected the change or whatever. Like I don't think it was like a government thing. I think it was like this.
Were these like colonial names that needed to be
I
changed?
think maybe that's what it is. I'm not too sure.
All right.
I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I remember just being like, I was like, you can do that. I didn't know you could, like at the time being a kid being like I didn't know you could change that city like that. Yeah. So
I didn't know either, but I guess it's
you can.
possible.
Yeah. They-
So you touched upon Bollywood. Was there ever a time that you thought of going into acting and, just having multiple kind of like artistic venues that you wanted to try?
I hit the stage a couple times in school.
Theater?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Just various like, and even like outside of school, like even our little like Hindu Sunday school group, they would like host plays and stuff like from like about like all the stories from the past and everything. So I would act in like that. When the pandemic happened, I never really thought about like the closest thing I ever even thought about was like voice acting would have been really cool maybe.
What would you have loved to have done, like as a voice actor?
Voice acting.
Was there like a dream role that you were like,
Dream-
oh, cool?
Dream voice acting role. I think it would have been any bad guy in any sort of like, DC or Marvel thing would have been sick. I think playing the bad guy was always
That would have been awesome.
yeah, I think playing a bad
That
guy
would've
is
been
sick. I
awesome.
would love to be a villain or anything like that. I think that we guys with beards and baldies, like we kind of got that look for it, and I always kind of I like that. But I didn't really ever think about anything seriously until the pandemic happened. When open mics closed down, I jumped right to TikTok, and because I was like, let me just start. I needed a creative outlet, so
So did TikTok help drive your comedy career at all?
yeah, I think it, in a way, because it was like I treated TikTok when the pandemic happened, like peak of the pandemic, I was treating TikTok like my SNL. Like that was my Saturday Night Live. I'm putting out sketches. I'm going to be really serious with the sketches. Like I was doing multiple takes. It was not easy to do this shit. Like it was hard to do these sketches and put out like 4 a day, 5 a day. I was trying to put out like 4 or 5 a day. And it was cool because a few of them would go viral. Like they would go viral. I've had ones that hit like 1 million views and stuff, 700, 800,000 views. And it was cool to see that. And then when the open mics, like what, Texas opened up back in like 3 months, I was like, peace out, TikTok, I'm gone. So I would just slowly do stuff here and there. But,
What were the sketches that you were working on?
like at the beginning of TikTok, you would have like, people would like, you would get like a sound clip and then you would like make your own sketch versus off this sound clip. Like maybe someone said something crazy like, oh Lord, that LeBron James Sprite commercial?
So, full disclosure,
Yeah.
I didn't have social media in any capacity until I started this podcast.
Oh wow. Okay. So
And the reason for it is like I downloaded TikTok during the pandemic, and then like 2 weeks into it, I figured out that I was getting addicted to this stupid shit.
oh yeah.
So I was like, I deleted that. I deleted Facebook, Instagram. The only social media app I left was Twitter, because I didn't follow anybody that I knew in real life,
Uh-huh.
and I only followed like news outlets
Yeah.
and science journals, and so I used it as like a news repository more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
anything else.
You're-
'Cause I was just getting data.
You're way more disciplined than most people I know, bro. There's no way I have never deleted any of that shit. I was like,
Honestly, like I'd be happy to give you my phone right now. You would see an Instagram account, a Twitter account, and a YouTube account. But right next to them is YouTube Studio,
Yeah.
is Spotify Studio, and it's only the accounts for the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
if it gets to a point where I can afford it, I'll hand it off to somebody to professionally just take care of it. Never ever will I go back to it again. I don't like social media, and the reason for that is we fucked up the internet so bad by creating social media. We could have done so much more with what we had created. We ruined it.
no, you.
We absolutely fucking ruined it.
It
And I'm
is-
sorry for anybody that doesn't think that way, but we had free-formed access, and we could have kept it true, and we could have kept it factual, and we could have distributed it to everyone, and everyone could have connected, because a very scary thing has started to populate right now. It's called deglobalization. And I'm so offended because all throughout my schooling, all throughout your schooling, they taught us about globalization
Yeah.
and how it would be the utopia that we were
For sure.
promised. Now they're espousing deglobalization. Enough, dude. Like, enough.
Nah, I mean they took away the
And what social media was
The-
exactly that.
just this last week.
ruined everybody.
just as last week they took away diversity. They want to take away diversity and inclusion in universities in Texas. That's gone. So I was like, how is it possible that I grew up with a diversity and inclusion program, and then now my kid won't have a diversity and inclusion program? Like that is so weird. We go backwards in this country, bro. Sometimes, you know.
Sometimes we go backwards, but right now, why Texas did that? Because diversity and inclusion no longer includes what Texas holds as the people they wanted to go forward in their country.
Yeah, there you go.
The
That's-
immigrant
yeah.
population is no longer considered the diverse. There's too many of you.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
too many Indians in Texas.
Too
You're not a
many.
minority anymore.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
part of
we're
us.
not.
Yeehaw, motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's bullshit because another voice is just louder than yours. And it's unfair because the Asian population worked a lot harder than everybody else. I'll literally tip my hat to the Asian community. You guys came to this country and you're like, hold my beer because I'm never going to drink that bullshit. Watch what I do.
Yeah.
And you guys took over medicine. You took over science. You took over engineering. Google's CEO is an Indian man, if I'm not mistaken.
There's like
A lot of the C-suites are filled with Indian and probably Pakistani,
Yeah.
and Chinese and Korean and all the Asian countries. And why is that? Because we came from Armenia is technically Southeast Asia geographically.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Fuck it, I'm gonna throw myself into this hat,
Yeah.
even though I did not do good in school and any of that
That's
shit.
okay.
But like, if you look at what the Asian community has done, that's come from a very rigorous and conservative background. Almost every name I gave you has deep roots in tradition, religion, family values. It's not that they're deeply rooted in education. It's that they're deeply rooted in everything else, and education just is a way to show how good we are and how much harder we have to work to prove our worth in this
For sure.
country.
For sure.
I think, am I wrong for thinking that about like the Asian population of this
No, I
country? And again, Indians, Pakistanis, all of the traditional
That-
Asian countries you can think
Yeah.
of, and non-traditional Asian
The
countries. like-
diaspora of Asians in communities, it's always like for some reason they're middle class, upper middle class, higher than that. You know,
because we have the fear of being controlled where we came from.
I mean,
let's be
just-
honest. Like,
it's. I mean, you came to this country like again.
did you have freedom in India? I didn't in Armenia.
I think it's a different sort of like it's different over there. You know, like I don't think I would have been the same. Like who knows? I wouldn't be the same kid. I wouldn't. bro, we used to we
I've seen your sets, dude. You talk about a lot of crazy shit you've done.
yeah, I know. It's just like I exactly, and it was. Would I have been doing that? No, I know my cousins because I know my cousins, and I'm always like, these guys are the most straight laced dudes in the world. When we went, my cousin got married.
These are the ones in India.
Yeah, they got married. I was like, let's go do a bachelor party, and he was like, why? I was like, bro, what? He was like, I'm just gonna get married and blah blah blah. And I was like, no, let's go out and whatever. We went out. I was like, you want to drink? He was like, nah, I don't want to drink. Let's just eat and have ice cream and go home. And I was like, that is so different than what I did for my bachelor party. So like it's just I can tell like because of the way my family's super conservative back in India. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have the same kind of rights and stuff that I do here. Here it was easier maybe to push back on my parents because it was just my parents.
Bro, you wouldn't have a bit about doing 14 grams of mushrooms with your buddies here.
Yeah, exactly.
In India, that's not possible.
There's
Even though mushrooms exist over
Yeah.
there, obviously, it's just the platform to make that shit funny does not exist.
So now kids are probably doing that shit. Kids, this generation, these younger kids, these 20-year-olds, there's now like this cool crowd, this cool generation of Indian kids coming out of India because their parents are like more chill and blah blah blah, like that sort of thing. But yeah, back then, no way.
I mean, pot, like smoking weed, was considered, you are like the bottom of the barrel from where I came from.
Really?
Oh, fuck.
Oh my God,
Because, like, you're talking about Soviet era.
Oh yeah.
My parents grew up in the Soviet Union, and, you know, that was not a free-thinking society by any stretch
For
of
sure.
the imagination. Let's be honest here. But when you come here, even here it was frowned upon, but the data and the information existed that if you wanted to read a little bit, like even in the early days of AOL and shit, I know you remember it, but like,
Oh, yeah.
you could find information about pot, and you can, like, I remember downloading the Anarchist Cookbook,
Oh yeah.
going through like IRC forums and shit and finding that thing and reading it, and then going to a science store and buying saltpeter so I could make that black shit at home.
Oh, yeah.
It ended up like burning half of the kitchen. But like, I had the ability of doing that, and I'm sure whatever story you can think of right now in your head when you were like 12 or 13 is equally as fucking funny
Yeah.
because you were here. You were
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to do shit here.
Well, 100%. It was just a different. My mom in Minnesota, we were playing in the playground and she was calling our names, and she was like, we weren't coming.
Wait, when were you in Minnesota and what part?
So before Dallas, I was in Minnesota.
Okay.
Before Carrollton, we were in Minnesota. Before Minnesota, we were in Wisconsin. Before Wisconsin, we were in Chicago at some point. Albany, Pittsburgh. Like we moved around. There was like quite
Were
a few.
your parents trying to make you hate America?
It was just the money. They just followed
Except
the
for
money.
Chicago, all the places you said were like adjacent to really kick-ass places. Like
Yeah.
Albany's next to New York City.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Wisconsin's near like another state. I'm sure that's awesome. So, like,
Wisconsin
you're-
at the time, I mean, it was like Green Bay was popping at the time. Detroit was like
There you go,
Detroit
like-
was cold, like Michigan and all that stuff. But yeah, no, we just
and you went to some cold-ass places, dude.
I
As
was
an Indian guy?
and I was
you were hating that
the
shit.
only Indian, dude. The only Indian in those places. They'd be like, we'd come into town. They'd be like, dude, what?
So how is it you avoided the accent? Because you weren't born here.
Yeah, I
And
was-
I've heard of, many different Indian comedians that were not born here but came here as young as you did, but like still have kind of like an accent when they speak.
When we first came here, before we even bought a car, before we even like had whatever, my dad was like, I'm gonna get cable because I want these kids to learn the language. Like I know that TV will help. And
This is pre-internet.
This is pre-internet, so we were, dude. I used to post up. I was watching stuff early. I was watching like all these movies, scary movies, old school movies, so early.
Because everybody's working in your home. by
Yeah, I'm
yourself.
watching like
How old were you when you saw Showgirls for the first time? Because we're 2 years apart. So
I was probably like 12, dude.
Ah,
I was probably
welcome
like
to the
12.
club, bro.
Yeah. I was probably like 12. I saw it was like Comedy Central was popping at the time, so all those movies, Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's,
Hell yeah.
dude.
Porky's is one of my favorite. And if anybody's never seen Porky's, like this is when you could do the most extreme shit. And I apologize if you get offended by this right now, but for us, like this was gold, dude.
That
Like,
was
Porky's 2,
as a
Revenge of the Nerds.
as a teenager, it really was pretty awesome. So growing up,
dude, SNL was amazing as
oh,
a kid.
that was such a great.
Did you ever watch In Living Color?
I loved In Living
Oh
Color.
my God.
I liked In Living Color. I was very much like, so growing up here, you have two choices, right? Like you're either, immigrant kids have two choices. You're either going to be very much a white kid, or you're going to be very much, you're going to be black. You're going to just be cool with all the black kids, the Mexican kids, that's whatever. So my brother was very much TRL, and I was very BET. Like that was just kind of the directions that we kind of went in.
How funny is that? I was an only child, so I kind of found myself in between both.
Mm-hmm.
But what was unfortunate was when I was a kid, if you wanted to be part of the cool crowd, rap music was the predominant thing because LA culture. Like, think
Of
about it,
course,
like,
bro.
You know,
West Coast, dude.
West Coast, East Coast, and this is the middle of Tupac and
You
Biggie and all
had
this
Death
stuff.
Row and everything going on.
But like, I'm sitting there going like, but ABBA's really cool. Led Zeppelin's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Like fucking Steely Dan,
Of
and
course, yeah.
Journey, and you know, like
you
all
guys
these
like the
other-
Eagles, man?
Yeah, like I'm like, you guys don't cry when you listen to Hotel California and you know it's about heroin addiction. You're like, no, none of that stuff. Like the Doors don't do anything for you, and it was uncool to like that music and like that stuff because when you're an immigrant, especially in like where we grew up, where it was very diverse, it's like you click. It was almost like fucking prison, dude. Like when you're in prison, you click up with the black guys or the white guys,
yeah.
the Mexicans.
You join
go
your
together.
clique. Yeah.
It was the same fucking thing. You were clicked up, and whatever your clique was, like this community is adjacent to the Mexican and the black community, so you
Yeah.
can't like rock music. It wasn't until like all these fuckers turned 30, and then you kind of like reconnect with them, like, dude, I love Tool and Metallica and all this shit, dude.
Bro,
I was like, fuck you guys.
I
Fuck every last one of you, because I liked all the rap music and still do, except for all the mumble shit now. Mm-hmm. And I liked all of the current, like the rock. Limp Bizkit was awesome. Nirvana was awesome. Like Korn, System of a Down. Like I listened to all
that was cool.
shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I listened to all of that stuff. And I never understood why you couldn't listen to music freely until I became an adult and I understood that like it was me letting others
Yeah.
put me in a box. Fuck
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, but it was tough back then. When you're a kid, it's tough because
dude.
it's tough to not follow the crowd or your crew, right? Back then, everybody was like, every little thing you did was gay. You know, you're like,
Oh, dude.
you know what I'm talking
Oh, my
about? Like
God.
they'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, I'm just reading a book. Oh, that's gay. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what? All right, so
Yeah, dude, like
Yeah.
it was weird.
yeah, I didn't, and it was like, okay, well then that stops you from doing that stuff, and then later when you're an adult, you're like, hey, fuck those guys, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, you know, and then they end up coming around too.
But you know what's weird though, and I don't know if this is across the board or it's because my children have had the opportunity to be exposed to a different part of society. I want to say is like, you know, I went to shitty public schools,
Yeah,
not good public schools or private schools, and their exposure almost brings about a different type of child. They don't have that whole you're gay for reading or you're gay because you know you're advanced in math. It's almost like it's applauded and they cheer each other on. And,
no, that's great.
and being a bully is like you're like everybody will gang up and be like stop being an asshole, dude. Stop.
Yeah.
Like, nobody likes this shit.
Yeah. No,
And-
that's great now. That's awesome now.
It's awesome, but a small part of me goes like, man, I just wish you guys would get bullied a bit.
You kind of need the toughness to build up the
Yeah.
toughness, right?
It's not building up the toughness,
Yeah.
dude. It's what's taught me from this podcast and probably, you know, my own personal life and friendships is unless you deal with some really horrifying shit when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you end up being a bland ass adult.
You
Most of the time. Not always, not unequivocally always, but 95% of the people that do awesome shit in this world have had some seriously fucked up shit.
Oh, 100. I don't know if it's just like, it's like a life expectation thing. Cause you're like, hey, not everything is so pretty, man. Not everything is just so like kumbaya.
And-
like this is not always going to happen. Like, and then they're never going to know that until they experience it for themselves. But it's one of those things, maybe as a parent, for me, I'd be like, man, I want them, when they do experience that, I would like for them to be prepared to be able to handle it well and know what to do and that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's just going to be like they're going to be taken off guard completely, that sort of thing, right? So,
I think, and only time will tell if I'm correct or incorrect about this hypothesis, but for me, I sometimes create those scenarios in a controlled way where they get the disappointment, but I'm there to also lead them into a path of understanding and not necessarily getting bummed out about it, but
Yeah.
figuring out another path.
Yeah.
Now, am I successful all the time with it? No, because every parent will tell you, dude, that sometimes you just can't deal with it.
Yeah, of
You're
course.
just like, fuck, enough.
Yeah.
Like an hour before you came,
Yeah.
it was like, fuck, enough.
Yeah.
Seriously. But I don't know. Every parent has a different way of teaching, and I think I find a lot of what Dr. Peterson has to say
Yeah.
is very correct. Where if you don't make your kids social by a certain age, they will never be able to develop those skills. If you don't teach your children about failure and at a certain age, they will go through life thinking that they are supposed to be getting everything and they deserve everything.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Dude, you don't want the spoiled kid.
Bro, what part of life is fair when you understand it?
No, yeah, no.
Tell
it's not.
me it's fair at all, ever, to anyone.
No, Patton Oswalt has a great quote about it because he said, because his wife, whenever his wife passed away, and he made that quote, he was like,
I love Patton Oswalt.
he was like, this is chaos. This is chaos. So just be nice. This is chaos. We live in controlled chaos. That's all this is.
I forget the name of the special he did after his wife died, and it was years after she passed away. I think it took him a while to get back on stage, but like that was one of the most heartfelt stand-up comedy specials I've ever heard.
I mean,
And he didn't touch
yeah.
too much upon her death because he understands as a master comedian of you can bring the room down a certain bit, but if you take it too far, you'll never get him back up.
Oh, but that whole thing with the the fucking old Russian lady being like, "I lost my mother." I was like, that was
Yeah.
it was such a good bit. He does it really well.
And I think what I've realized is comedians at some point understand something that none of us actually understand is that their voice, where only a Patton Oswalt can do that joke and it delivers. Certain other comedians, even gods of comedy that other comedians hold in that regard, couldn't pull that off because it's highly specific to the tone, the delivery, the voice, the face, everything about that man.
His descriptions are so different. The descriptors, the way he describes stuff, like the adjectives and everything, like the way he's building his little world of when he's telling your story, it's different than other comedians. It's way more.
Patton Oswalt reminds me of an intellectual that became a comedian.
It's definitely
Different. It's weird
Yeah,
with
you
that
can tell.
guy.
You can tell. No, he's definitely like he's a nerd. You can tell he's a nerd. That's like it's smart funny. It's always kind of smart funny.
And it's kind of I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but like I delivered a bouquet of like strawberries and mangoes and stuff that you can eat to Patton Oswalt. And I think it was before his wife died. I think he got it for her for like a Mother's Day gift or something.
Wow.
And I actually got to meet the man. I was a kid working a job, delivery dude.
Yeah.
And I got to meet Patton Oswalt. I was like, holy shit, you're Patton Oswalt. And he's like, yeah, man. Hey, how's it going? He's like one of the nicest humans ever.
Dude, so cool. I would love to meet him. I went to the show, the theater show. Whenever
Good tipper too, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, there you go. I went to the Majestic Theater show that he did this last year, and it was so good. It was so fantastic. He was crushing it. I don't know if he got the same sort of response like in his actual special on Netflix, because I think he did it in Denver or whatever. But I was like, man, he should have filmed that Dallas show, dude. He blew the roof off.
Dallas is a different type of crowd, man.
Yeah.
Because, and like when you do the circuits a lot, like I'm not a comedian. I just sit there and like get to see you guys fucking try to make it happen. And some of you make it happen, and then I ask you to come on this podcast, and the ones that don't make it happen, I'll keep following until they do.
Yeah.
That's the premise of this whole thing is like, I need to find you funny. You need to make me laugh before I will invite you on.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like, I should have mentioned
No, that's cool. That's
every
cool to
guest
know.
that has been on this podcast, I have seen either live, except for two people, but I found really funny. And you were one of those guys, and I was like, especially when I was sitting on a Wednesday night, and there was like 5 guys there, 1 heckler, and a bunch of comedians in the back, and I was sitting in the back, and you knew like the situation wasn't going where you wanted it to, and then you did the beard thing, and I kind of like yelled out,
Yeah.
and you got a laugh from everybody. I was like, that is a man that knows how to do comedy because he understands the situation.
Well,
He understands how to pivot and make it work.
I appreciate you. I'm learning too. I'm only 3 years. I'm 3 years in. I'll be real. I'm 3 years in. I'm still learning. There's so much to learn. That pivot thing, man, I don't even know how it happened because I try to do that on real shows instead of just trying to. If on a real show, I'm so stuck in my material, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get him with this joke. If I didn't get him with this one, I'm going to get him with this one. But at an open mic, it's so much easier for me to be like, yo, the material ain't working. Let's go straight to the crowd shit. Let me just fuck around with the crowd. So I'm trying to get better with it. And I appreciate that. So I'm trying to, it's always a learning thing, you know?
So 3 years on stage, which means you started pandemic.
Yeah, I started right before, like 2019.
What made you get up on stage the first time, dude?
So what happened was, what was going on was like, I'm from an Indian. I was in an Indian fraternity in college.
Okay.
And
hold on, shout it out.
Shout out BKG, Beta Kappa Gamma. We don't. I don't even know if we exist anymore. We got kicked off probably a long time ago.
Why?
Hazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you guys that bad? What, Indian hazing? What do you guys
we
making me beef?
we didn't. I don't think we were hazing was that bad. I think we were just hazing a bitch. So I think that's probably what it was.
Oh, you got canceled.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. So.
AL.
Yeah, no. So all those guys, like that's my crew. That was my crew. So every time one of these guys was getting married, they'd ask me to do a speech, and I always made it funny, right? Like I was always trying to make it funny. And then my little brother got married, and I played the ukulele. I made this whole song thing. It went really well. It's on YouTube. It was really cool. People came up to me and they were like, "Are you a comedian? Are you a comedian?" And then so my fiance at the time was like, maybe after because we were getting married like real soon, right after. So she was like, after all that stuff, maybe we can do some comedy stuff. Like my wife pushed me into it. Like I didn't even know what the word open mic was until we both like searched like comedy show practice or something like that. I had no idea what an open mic was. And then it showed up. It showed up on Google and I was like, oh, I think that's that people go to do this stuff. And then she came with me, man. We kind of watched the Hyenas open mic for like 4 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I saw all the people that I hang out with today. I saw and watched, which was really cool because it was and we stayed back then when I first started. There was 6 blocks. There used to be 6 blocks.
Oh.
Yeah, it was insane. There used to be 6 blocks. Now there's like what 2, 3, barely 3 or whatever.
So explain a block to people that may not.
So
know.
a block is like that hour of comedy. So if you're in the first block, you're in the block from like 7 to 8, and then the second block 8 to 9, and then third block 9 to 10, 11. So it goes on until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. So when I first started, 5th block.
So what that usually means is you get there around 5 or 6. You put your name on a list, and you're sitting around until probably like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And at that point, you've got 2 types of people that are watching comedy. Comedians and people that are probably just like zoned out or too drunk to leave yet, and they're trying to sober up, or they're just like too tired.
The key word
leave.
is disgruntled.
Thank
comedians.
You. I can't say that.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah.
But holy shit, man.
Yeah.
6 blocks?
So 6 blocks. It used to be 6 blocks. It would go until like 2:33, man.
Oh my god.
And I started in 5th block. And I remember, shout out my boy Miles Francis, first host of my block, the first block I ever did. And he was like, how do you say your name? And get up on stage, blah, blah, blah. So it just kind of took off from there.
Does your, actually, before I ask that question, so how did it go the first time you went up on stage? So 4 weeks of studying with your wife and kind of like honing it down. What, did you write a set?
I was writing
like
the entire
wing
time.
it?
So what happened was that no one really knew this, but I had just, for like 2 years, I had a Microsoft Word document where I was putting down funny thoughts. And in my brain, I didn't know the word bit. I didn't know the word set. I didn't know the word, like tag or anything like that. I just knew, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about something funny. Let me put it down on this Word document. So I had been writing stuff for like 2 years before this even happened, just because it just happened. It just came naturally kind of thing, right?
And a tag, for those that don't know, is you do a comedy bit,
You
like
do-
an entire joke, and then you kind of like call back to one part of it and make another funny, right?
So
Like
so
right after it.
so you have your bit,
Okay.
and then you have your punchline. Like you
Right.
have your punchline, and then the tag is the follow up on the punchline. So another almost funny
So
line.
it comes immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. If it's not immediately and it's later, that's a callback.
Yeah.
where you
So
go
if
back
I
to an
bring it
original
if I
joke.
bring it back, if I bring like a line I said back from like another set, call back.
There you go.
And then so you typically have a bit. Your bit, you have multiple bits that make up a chunk, right? And then like a few chunks make up a set. So it's kind of the
One of the fucking craziest callbacks I've ever seen, and I don't know if it's considered a callback or not, but was when Chappelle gave the punchline to the joke,
oh yeah,
and then
100%.
went into a 20-minute
Mm-hmm.
like explanation of the setup, which was just like fucking every single thing was a punchline after punchline that for like 20 minutes, and then he said the exact same line, and everybody died laughing.
Oh yeah, I
was
remember.
like, how the
He
fuck
did that
do
in
you
the
do
special.
Yeah.
Kick him in the pussy or something
Yes.
like that. Punch him in the something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Dave, but like
Yeah,
something
whatever.
to that extent.
Yeah.
That like, and if you don't know, go to Netflix. Start from the oldest one he's got, where probably he's talking about a baby selling crack on a street corner,
Oh yeah,
which is fucking funny. One of the funniest things in the entire world.
that's the same. That's the same special with where he's doing the white guy speeding stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Like, you, if to appreciate Chappelle like most comedians do, if not all, and like I do, you need to start from way
You do.
back.
You do have to.
Because his stuff almost kind of like gives you a timeline of his progression as an artist.
Yes, and I sometimes even like the older stuff. Yeah. Because the newer stuff is he's reached that George Carlin, Richard Pryor level of status where he's more philosophy and then just comedy, just saying funny bits, you know?
I mean, yeah, like if you go down the Mount Rushmore of any true comedian who they have in their head, all of those people usually are what you say is they are philosophers who bring brevity and humor to any such situation. And I think that is I think that's what the true art of comedy is that kind of gets lost, is that you are a philosopher.
You
Because
are.
You bring light
Yeah.
to really shitty situations in a very beautiful and funny way. And if I laugh, I'm going to remember it almost the same degree as if I'm hurting. I'm going to remember it.
And it's so crazy how it comes off it can come off in so many different forms, because you have the angry comedian, you have the sarcastic comedian, you have the sad comedian. At the end of the day, though, the audience reaction is the same. We're getting laughs. We're feeding off the laughter. So, like this guy right here, I love this guy, Louis Black.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. I used to, I would always do these road trips back in college and stuff. I was always listening to comedy, and I would listen to Louis Black's albums and stuff.
Back in Black is
Back-
one
oh
of my
my-
favorites.
That is, this is one of the. It's one of
Dude.
the best. Yeah.
I don't know if it was from Back in Black, but there was this one thing about him flying to New Zealand or Australia, and he was like
That's
talking about that
one
it
after.
takes- It's the one after that?
Yeah.
And he's talking about like it takes so goddamn long that if he landed on an iceberg and there were two penguins blowing each other,
Yeah.
he would be honored to do a fucking
Yeah.
set. Like
Yeah.
do a whole comedy
Yeah, yeah.
special. And I just sit there like crying laughing at that whenever I think about it. Or when he talks about moo cow fuck milk next to almond milk and oat milk. And he did this like way before a bunch of
yeah.
other fucking comedians stole that shit. Sorry, buddy. He did that shit first, dude. Like he talked about moo cow fuck milk before anybody ever talked about almond milk or oat milk.
Oh, I love.
He's up there for a reason.
He's also from this different time. Like he talks about how growing up, and he was like, they made us hide under our desk from an atom bomb or whatever. Like, and then
a nuclear fuck holocaust, I
Holocaust.
think, is the word that he talks.
Yeah, nuclear
the way
fuck.
he's-
Yeah.
And Louis, sorry, bro, but it's been out for decades now. It's okay for us to talk about this because it's not something that we're not ruining something that you're working on now.
If you haven't heard it by now, like,
And if you haven't seen his new comedy special, it's good. I caught it on YouTube the other day.
I was watching it too. I started it.
It was really funny. It's Lewis Black, but
He's
it's a very
same-
Lewis.
Yeah.
It's a little different. Lewis Black, more mature, post-pandemic Lewis
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Take it for what you will, but it's still Lewis Black.
Oh,
at-
100%.
Like at the core of it, like he still gets angry the same way. He
Right.
still has the facial expressions that I love so much. It's like a guy that learned how
Yeah.
to control Tourette's.
He's got that in that first album. I think he talks about going to do a show in Chicago and how cold it is, right? And he was like, the temperature is like, he says that he's like, the temperature is 36 degrees,
Yeah,
but the wind chill is like minus 20. And then he's like, well, then just say it's minus 20.
yeah.
He's like, it's not 36 degrees, it's minus 20. Like that tirade, that rant that he goes in is so funny, man.
And
so
like-
hilarious. we're never going to do it justice because justice.
No.
Yeah.
So like, listen to me when I say this. I'm saying this to you, and Shree's saying this to you. But what we're trying desperately to do is have you go and actually see
Watch it.
the master who formulated it. Probably worked it out on the road for a bunch of months until it became perfect. Execute it on a special. You need to see. I mean, I don't care what decade it is. You can watch Eddie Murphy's Delirious and Raw, and it's relevant.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's relevant. You can watch George Carlin's The 7 Words You Can't Say. It's relevant right now. Stephen Wright has always been relevant because his one-liners will go down forever as being the funniest
Really good.
shit ever.
Really
dude.
good. Yeah.
Like, tell me a good comedian that you can't go back and see the best of their work right now in 2023 and still think it works and it's relevant. That's the philosophy.
That's the philosophy. Yeah.
Because you can read Nietzsche now and still find solace and beauty in his philosophy, and all the other writers, Socrates and Plato and all, they still stand the test of time. Just like certain comedians will always stand the test of time. Like Live on the Sunset Strip. Come on.
Oh, yeah, that's
it's
so good.
perfection.
Yeah, that's so good.
The fact that he starts it by getting pissed off at a bunch of people that are late is
Oh,
the
yeah.
funniest fucking thing
And they
in the
kept
world.
it in there, and it's so
Hell
good.
yeah,
It's
dude,
so
it's
good.
so good.
He's so good at and you forget that he's got that crowd work ability. That's such a good
yeah.
crowd work. When he in that one special where the guy's like taking a picture, the guy's taking a picture of him
Come
on
on,
stage.
motherfucker, take
Come
a
on,
picture.
yeah, exactly.
Come
It's so good. He's so good.
And I can't do Pryor any
Oh,
justice.
no, of course not. No,
His
none of
voice
us-
was
none of
so
us can.
unique, and
Yeah.
his delivery, and the way he said
Only that guy could. Only that guy.
Eddie.
Yeah.
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 But the way he would say motherfucker is
Yeah.
on par with the way Samuel L. Jackson says it.
Oh yeah, it's powerful. Yeah. It carries.
And he said it in a
much.
much softer voice.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost like he was singing it out almost. Like there was like just a musical note with the way he said it versus Samuel, where
Yeah.
it's like very strict and very like, down to the point.
Yeah.
But equally beautiful. And I love that part where it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you can take vulgarity and turn it into
Oh, for
something
sure.
that two people can find beautiful.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's definitely you've got it. It's got to be an art to it. It can't just be like a.
Yeah,
Whatever.
because you can say bad word after bad, and we've all seen comedians
of
that
course.
think that using profanity or vulgarity or really out there words is the only way to get a crowd.
Yeah.
But more than likely, being genuine is the way to get the crowd on your side and have them laugh with you, because you can bullshit a lot, but if you're true, we'll probably like it and we'll laugh.
Those first few jokes or first whatever. I'm just trying to get the crowd to like me, man. If the crowd can like you, if the crowd buys into you, you can have the time of your life up there. They'll buy into whatever you kind of say, right? Because they're bought into you.
To that extent, do you feed off of the crowd?
Yeah, you got to you got to be able to read the emotions, ride the energy, right? Like controlling the momentum is always, when you're having a great show and being able to like ride this bounce of laughter, because you're saying the joke, you say the punchline, the laugh is up here and they're coming down, so you're trying to get them right here so you can bounce even higher, right? Like trying to control all that stuff, like reading the energy. Maybe I'm doing a set, maybe I'm doing like 2 jokes, maybe I'm doing my shit and they're not buying into it all, so I gotta read the crowd. I gotta like be able to switch into crowd work, maybe kind of loosen them up a little bit, right? I'm trying to get better at that because I don't do that all the time, but yeah, it's definitely important.
I was like kind of like trying to dissect crowd work, and I find it as a crutch for most and a tool for some,
Mm.
to be completely honest with you. And why I say that is because firsthand you see a lot of comedians, and the guys are still trying out and still working it out and still beginning or midway into their career, where their material sucks for the crowd that they're working on and may have killed somewhere else. And what they do is they go straight to crowd work and stay there for the rest of their set. Whereas the guys that are masterful at it pivot, crowd work, go right back into their set and make it so natural that you don't even understand it happening.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, because you want to be able to maybe go into the crowd work, and then somehow in your crowd work you're saying something that you can tie into the next joke that you can bring up. So
Well, what I think what happens with the guys or gals that do the crowd work properly is they set up the premise in such a way where they ask the questions of like, well, who's ever been married? Because in their mind, they
got it in their chamber.
they want to go to that. And if they don't get enough people going like, woo, I've been married, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They go to the next question and the next question. It's still funny because like they'll do little tags and they'll do little things off of it, like, oh, fuck your sweater or whatever it is. But I think the master class comes when they know that revolver is full of questions that go back into a completely different 5 minutes of funny, because Dallas just doesn't like it the way Portland does.
Oh, 100%. I think very good crowd comedians have their formula. The questions that they ask, the leading that they can do. And the cool thing is like when you're watching it, you're like, oh, the crowd has no idea. Like that's what they're going into. They have no idea what direction that he's about to take them in. So that's it's really cool to watch.
The person I would bow to for being the master of this, and if you have not seen him live, you need to do yourself the favor of going to a Harland Williams show.
Oh, so good.
You will never ever know when a bit begins, crowd work ends, and you are just laughing hysterically the entire time.
Yeah. Funny.
And I got the opportunity to see him live, and I got to hang out with a couple of the comedians, not him, afterwards, and they were like, dude, this is the third night. It's a completely different night. None of the material has ever repeated. They're like, it's insane. We don't understand it.
He
is a master.
He's a master for sure. I watched him at the Addison Improv, and that's
where I saw him.
I was on the floor.
Yeah,
I was on the floor.
Crying.
He was saying stuff like, what's up, Gorgonzola Gary? What's up, Gorgonzola Gary? You ever thinking about hitting your grandma with a canoe? Like it was just all this, the craziest shit. And
he kept saying, hey, what's up, guy? What are you doing, guy?
What are you doing? Are you okay, guy?
You guy?
And guy with shorts?
And I can say guy, you can say guy, but the way he says guy will make you laugh.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Because it doesn't matter who he says it to. I think he was at one point going like, you guys look like a bunch of nuns and priests. And he just dug into that.
Yeah.
And these people had nothing to do with the cloth. They were just sitting there. But all of us were so entrenched in what this man was doing. He had the entire room in his palm, and he was like, all right, motherfuckers, let's see what I can do today.
He's hilarious, man. It was such a good show.
I thought Russell Peters was great at that, and he is. Mm-hmm. But when I got to see Harland live, I was like, wow. I was like, I never seen anybody do the flow better than this man has done it.
Oh, really? I would say, so I'm a little bit biased because I fall under, so Indians in the scene, there's very few of us. And when there is few of us, we kind of go under like the wings of the older comedians.
Russell.
So the two, well, Russell's, that's I don't want to say under his wing. I don't even know if he knows me. So, the two guys, the main Indian guys here, Paul Varghese and Raj Sharma, right? And
in Texas.
Okay. So Comedy Central's, JFL's, Laugh Factory special, all that stuff. Paul and Raj. Shout out Paul Varghese, Raj Sharma. We're all the Indian comics, like me, Arun, I would say a couple others, like we're under that umbrella of those guys. And Raj is a really good crowd work comic.
So I got to go check him out.
Yeah, 100% I did.
So no offense to any comedian in Dallas or anywhere. If I haven't reached out to you, it's just because I haven't seen you yet.
Oh, 100%.
Like I'll be at the clubs every week until I run into you, and that's how I will invite you to this podcast. It has to be genuine.
Oh yeah, he's great, man. He's great, and he's a staple, dude. He's one of those guys that has been here for a while.
Does Akash Singh fall into that category of like looked up to comedians?
He kind of I don't know if I ever would have considered him a Dallas comic. I don't know if he ever did.
No, I know he was a Texas guy first, but he's fully
He's
New York
and
yeah.
Miami and all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, like for Indian comics in general, is there like a group of people that you look to and are like, oh yeah, these are the ones that made it, and they kind of give us a playbook of how to be a good Indian comedian?
I don't even, man. You know what? So that's the thing. I think all of us don't want to just be Indian comics. We just want to be comics, right?
Okay.
I think when we're in that, like, because I don't ever want to be. I do all these brown shows, but I don't. I also feel like I have good enough jokes that anybody from any background could like. But the Indian comics that have done really well, I think that people look up to maybe now. Obviously, you've got the Russell Peters, the OG. Russell Peters, the OG. You've got the Hassan Minhaj.
Yes.
Right? He's another big one. He's the one that's
Is
like.
Hassan Pakistani or Indian?
I think he's Indian. I think he's Indian, but he's Muslim though. He's Muslim Indian.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why that was what was throwing me off, because I knew he was a Muslim.
And then you've got Veer Das, who's like the
He's
Indian,
very funny.
Indian comic, right? Very,
Is Mo an Indian comic?
Mo Amer is,
Yeah.
I think he's from Houston in brown guy. I don't know if he would say Indian comic, but definitely.
Shout out to Mo, dude. He's really funny, dude.
The
He's
show,
fucking hilarious.
The
dude.
show was great. Oh my god,
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. You've got the Asif Ali's of the world. You've got the Hari Kondabolu's. You've got like there's so many. I feel like there's a lot of. I don't know if there's like one really standout, because out of all those guys, you've got Aziz Ansari, but I don't even know if he likes Indians. So
I think Aziz is, for me, Aziz has never been the stand-up comedian. He's always been a great comedic actor for me, a comedic performer, comedic entertainer, but not a stand-up comic. Like, I don't find myself.
I'm not cracking up at his special.
I'm not chomping at the bits to watch his new special. Like,
100.
I'm not on I'm not going like, what's coming next? Like, I'm not waiting for him the way I would wait for Ari Shafir's new special, Russell's new special, Eliza Schlesinger's new special, a bunch of different people that I really like. Lewis, like, he doesn't even come up on my radar, to be honest, as a comedian.
Rami.
Yes.
That's another good guy. Yeah, I was.
Rami's a funny guy too.
Yeah. And then like the guys that it's different though, because I grew up here, so I was like watching movies super early. So, like the Jay Chandrasekhars of like Super Troopers and
of course, dude. That guy's hilarious.
Yeah,
man.
that Indian was. I remember watching that and being blown away that there was an Indian guy doing a show like before anybody. I can even remember. Then came Kal Penn, and then Kal Penn was like the biggest brown guy. And I remember meeting him in college. And I was like, holy shit, like.
Bro, I met Kal Penn because I was driving Uber, and I picked him up and dropped him off, and we got into a cool conversation, and he gave me his email address. And back then, it was at Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say what it was, just in case the guy ever still has it, but like, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then like a couple of months after I met the guy, he went to the White House to work for the Obama administration. He kind of like disappeared off the radar for a while. What does he do now?
Well, I mean, he's got his shows. I think he's on a couple shows. He's got the book out. Because he came out, right? He came out of the closet. He's gay. Shout out Kal Penn, doing your thing. But he came out with it was on the New York Best-Selling Times. He's got all these. He's like the host of a couple shows and stuff. He's doing his thing.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
he's doing his thing. He's kind of landed in a good place, I think. So.
I kind of fell in love with his work, not as a comedian, but on House.
Yeah, he was that
I
doctor
thought
on
he was
House.
so good.
And then they wrote him off the show super weird.
Well, you know why they wrote him off, right?
Because he went to the Obama thing.
Yeah, Obama was like, bro, you got to kill him. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
The president need.
The president. Yeah.
It was almost like a dictator. Dude, like, kill.
Yeah, and then they, they killed him off the show. They
I remember
committed suicide or
the
something.
girl found him in his house or the girl and the other actor. Fuck, I forgot his name. But he was the African American gentleman. The two of them went to investigate, and then they found him OD'd on like some floor or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it was just like, what? Why? And then like 2 weeks later, we were proud to present Kal Penn to the Obama administration. Okay, I guess it was like a trade.
Yeah. So he was like another big one. It was like cool to see these. Seriously, the first brown person I ever saw on TV. First brown person ever.
Apu.
It was not even on Pooh, bro.
Who'd
Not
you
even
see?
on Pooh. I saw. It's so random because I hated the show as a kid. Now I love it. It's totally cool. Frasier.
Oh yeah.
Frasier. In the coffee shop in Frasier, there was an Indian server, and she had a couple lines in a couple episodes. And I remember like being 8 years old, 9 years old, and being like, I hate this show, but this lady is brown. This lady is brown, and this is cool as hell.
She's one of us.
She was one of us. And then now I watch the show. I love it, dude. It's such good writing. Such a good show. There's a reason why it was like, nominated for like 15 Emmys and stuff. So
Frasier was pretty good. Yeah,
Frasier,
it's very dry humor. Like
Yeah.
you need to think.
yeah.
Like if you want something mindless to kind of like
Yeah.
dull out the world, it's not it.
I'm a fan of comedy in general. So anything comedy, like I could watch Frasier, and then I will watch YouTube. I will watch Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis at the Copacabana on YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
good
Like
stuff,
that.
man.
I love that stuff. I just like. I feel like you kind of got to know the history of stuff, like where people come from and stuff. Like even old school sitcom TV. Like I'll watch stuff. Like my wife will be like, "Dude, why are we watching Taxi?" Like
oh my
what is
God.
it? You
Come
know?
on, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but it's because she doesn't.
It's
but-
Taxi. Dude.
Yeah,
I
but she doesn't know.
love
She doesn't know. She
Taxi.
doesn't know.
Danny DeVito, come on, dude.
She
Like
has
he's
no
the funniest
idea.
boss ever.
She has no idea. She has no idea. So
Yeah. If you want to see like the Wayans brothers, Jim Carrey, and a whole host of other people do some of the funniest sketch comedy ever, go watch In Living Color. Like treat yourself. It's better than SNL could ever be now. SNL used to be great before.
yeah,
But what In Living Color is, oh my.
so good. So and I grew that was the type of comedy I was watching. I was watching Def Jam. I
Yes.
was watching comedy. So I was watching all this stuff as a kid, and nothing really happened until I'm 32, man. So
And then you start.
and then you start, and then you just kind of take a chance, right? Like that's all it is. It's like anybody that wants to start, you just got to take that first step out there.
What did it feel like getting up there on the first time?
I was nervous, but I felt confident. I remember in like maybe 2 or 3 jokes because I was like I had said them to different people in conversation, just past whatever, just bullshitting around, and they laughed, and so I was like, okay, I think these could work, and they did, did
Okay.
work, and then a couple of them didn't work. Last one was stupid, but it hit, and then before I knew it, it was 3 minutes and I was done. And I remember he was like, Miles, and then I came off, and Miles was like, yo, good job, man. He was like,
Nice.
first time. He was like, first time, good job. And I was like, yeah, that was cool. And then I remember I like probably boner the entire time, because I was so excited of my first set. And then, then just kind of kept coming out. That was it. That was like, it's a drug after that. You know how it is, man. You just keep coming out.
What did your wife say after you, like the first time you went on stage? Because she supported you for 4 weeks. And
Yeah,
the whole
and then
research. Like,
so the fourth week. So the fourth week, what happened at this open mic when we were watching? I was like we used to stay for a long time because I would just we weren't really doing anything. We would drink, we would have a good time, just watching these comics go up on stage. And I remember like the 5th block or 4th block, comic went up on stage, and there's like probably like 5 or 6 ladies in the audience at this time. It was pretty good for like the 5th block, and I remember like people were like, "Damn, it's a good night tonight."
this is like 1:30.
Yeah, the people
right?
in the crowd, right? And a comic went up and was like, "You ever think about beating a bitch?" And all the women booed him.
Oh,
All the
no.
women booed him, and he was like, "No, give me a chance, give me a chance." So they were like, "All right," like and he was like, "You ever just think about beating a bitch?" It was bad. It was bad that they booed him off stage.
So they actually booed him all the way off the stage.
They booed him off. It was like a minute and a half of boos, bro. The ladies didn't even give him a chance. And I remember my wife turned and looked at me and was like, "I think you could at least get a chuckle.
There you go.
I think you could at least get a chuckle. Like I've seen you make other people laugh before, so I think you could at least get a chuckle." And then she was like, "I'm not coming to this stuff anymore." And then she did it. So like the next week, I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You know what? I think it's time." So I signed up for like whatever open mics I could get to. The Hyenas one was like one of the first, like it was literally the first one that I got on that they that I was able to go up and actually do some stuff, and then it was just a matter of, you know, going doing like signing up for other mics. But I remember coming home telling my wife like, "Hey, I made people laugh." She was like, "That." I was like, "I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna figure this out. Like, I really want to get into this." So, and she was supportive. She was like, "Okay." She was like, "As if it makes you happy, like I'm totally down." And you know, like I wouldn't have done it if she hadn't told me to go out and actually do it. So there's a lot of support that comes from that. A lot of what I do now, like I'm able to be on shows and be on weekend shows and travel out of town, is because my wife is okay. Like she's very okay with that, and she trusts me, and she's cool with it, and she knows that I'm trying to chase this little pipe dream that I got, right? So nothing happens without her, kind of thing.
I mean, that's most people will tell you that the person that they are with will either make their dreams flourish or kill them in its tracks.
100%.
And it doesn't mean you're going to be necessarily successful if you have the right person next to you,
Mm-hmm.
but at least you will have the opportunity to try and fail.
Yeah, very true. And I think the most important thing, and I think that the difference, maybe this helps a little bit, because is when I have a bad night, bad set, whatever, when I come home, there's an outside voice saying, "Hey, don't give up. Don't, you know, like I know you're down right now, but don't worry about it. Like pick yourself up." Versus some of these other guys are kind of, they're alone, right? Like you come home alone, you know, and you don't really, there's not another support there's not a little supporting voice or system there. So it's tough. So I feel very blessed that I have a wife that's very supportive like that. Yeah.
I feel worse for those guys that actually go home to someone that says, "Oh, another fucked up night?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you just stop?"
Yeah, exactly. Dude, my wife's never said that. I'm like, knock on wood, whatever. She's never said that. She's like, she's like, quit being a bitch. Like which is good, which is what I need, you know? That's exactly what you need. So,
And you know what? To all the people that may have somebody at home that doesn't say keep going after your dreams and you will succeed one day, or whatever, the opposite of that, like the negativity, all that is, and believe this with all the fiber of my being, is that they are too chicken shit to pursue their dreams, so they don't want you to pursue yours. So you never look at them and go like,
Right.
"Oh, you're less than."
unhappy people want people to be unhappy, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
Yeah,
just
misery loves company. Dude.
misery loves
it's
company.
just a
homie.
fact.
Yeah.
And you know what? Happiness doesn't always love company.
Yeah, no.
Because the road to getting to what you may consider your happiness, which is probably being a stand-up comedian that is successful, that supports his family with this as his craft and his career, that's a lonely ass road, man.
Yeah, it's a tough road. It's nice to have the support. It's long. It's not going to be easy. You know, and it hasn't been easy now. Even for 3 years, the beginning 3 years, it hasn't been really. It's never been easy, because there's a lot of sacrifice, right? There's a lot of stuff that I don't come to anymore. There's a lot of stuff that I miss out on, right?
Yeah, a lot of your weekend evenings are completely done.
Date nights are Monday and Tuesday night. That's date night. Monday night, Tuesday night.
Which is perfect. You don't
Which
have
is-
to deal with anybody else.
Which is actually like a lot of reservations at restaurants are open, guys. By the way, that's like, it's actually a perfect time, because yeah, but she's accommodated to that. But I'll tell you this, like I tell every guy, I'm like, "Hey, bro, like I'm married, but my wife loves to travel, so like 2-3 weeks out of the year, I'm gone. Like I'm gonna do the traveling thing, make her happy. For those 2-3 weeks, I'll make her happy that she doesn't, you know, not like but I like." It's just so, because she needs that too. She needs that part of her life too. Like we traveled before we started comedy and stuff. Like I don't ever want to take that away in anything, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So what was the last place you guys went to?
we actually did we did a trip to Europe.
Nice.
We went to we were in London and France. Those were like the two places, and so it was really cool. And my wife is really good about. I think one thing is that she's like, "Hey, you need to live life to talk about life." You know, like no one wants to just hear what you saw or did at a open mic, you know, like. And when we did this Europe and France trip, like I got 5-6 minutes. I have like 5 or 6 minutes on it now. You know,
Wow.
like yeah, and it's really and I think about that. And I'm like, man, because I'm always like open mic, show, open mic. I don't want to take a break. Open mic. Like writing, comedy, blah, blah, blah. But she's like, hey, you need to, let's take a break. Like, maybe you should observe some stuff, life and different cultures and visiting cities. And she's like, and then I write about it. And then I write about it. I keep like a daily thing. I write about it. I come up with funny stuff, like you just stuff, you got to live life to talk about it. People don't want to just hear, I smoked weed all day. And then I came out to the comedy club, like people don't want to hear that shit, So.
Yeah, because where's the funny?
People don't, because people don't
Everybody
live like
smokes
that.
weed, let's say. Everybody drinks, but where's the funny?
Yeah, but people don't also live like that. Regular people, they go to jobs. They have like a 9 to 5. They take their kids to Disneyland. Like they go to the like they do stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess finding relatability.
Yeah,
in your
100%.
material.
Yeah, you got to be able to, like, if you got to connect with people, like we're expecting, right? I'm definitely going to start talking about it. I'm writing about it already. I'm going to try to start working stuff out. We've been babysitting our niece and nephew just to kind of get into the practice of things. I've already like observed like stuff like that, and I'm going to start talking about it, like, because that's that phase of life I'm in.
Right.
So,
which will connect you to a whole bigger, broader audience.
yeah,
Because
100%.
if you think about it, like 26 and up, most people are going into that phase of relationship, serious marriage, and then that's their life forever. So, like, if you talk about kids 10 years from now, it's still relevant.
People. Hey, yo, I heard this from Okam. I don't know who I was watching. Maybe it was Roy Wood Jr. And he was like, yo, you know what people always talk about? You always can talk about relationships. You can always talk about sex. You can always talk about kids. You can always talk about food. There's like certain subjects that are always going to be like across the board. Like people are always going to relate to.
Yeah. I mean, like weed's one of the ones that it'll hit in some markets, but fly over the head in a lot of other places. Because even if it's legal in the state, just a lot of people don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who cares in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Most people don't.
No, yeah.
Or Kansas or Oklahoma. Or, like, you get to the coast, and you're like, okay, cool. Party scene, everybody's a pothead, whatever. Fuck it. I can make a lot of funny here.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing. Traveling probably teaches a comedian is, like, different places, different material works and doesn't work.
You have to do that, man. Like, the shit that works in Dallas may not work in fucking Kentucky, right? Like, you gotta. That's why you gotta. I don't understand comics that are like, that don't go to open mics, that don't go to various other open mics, that try to get out of the state to other shows and stuff, right? Because you don't want to be trapped in your little bubble either. The only way you can grow is to get out of that stuff, to like put yourself in an uncomfortable zone. Like, okay, like maybe I went to Arkansas. I did my Indian fucking jokes in Arkansas. Like, I was like, are these Indian jokes going to work in Arkansas? Because Texas has a good Indian-sized population. People eat Indian food here. There ain't no fucking Indian restaurants in Arkansas.
True.
So are they going to even understand my Indian restaurant joke? Are they going to understand my Indian food joke? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Huh?
How'd it go?
It wasn't... No one really knew about it. I had to change a lot of stuff. I was like, oh, man, they don't know. When I say Indian, bro, people were like, I'm Indian too.
Oh, American Indian?
Yeah, I was like, and luckily I came up with a
American
riff on the spot or whatever, and I still use it now. I'm like, oh, you're a casino, I'm Wi-Fi, and it's hack, super hack. Does it crush with a white audience? Yes, it does.
I can see that.
It like in these smaller town audiences, it does well. It's just you kind of got to start off hack before you can get into your real shit.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, what I think the comedy special isn't necessarily what was said in Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, because that's supposed to hit the masses.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the states in this country have very highly specific, and Dallas is not, excluded from this. We here have certain things that we do accept and do not accept, and if you're a good comic, you'll toe the line. Really.
Yeah.
And you can go into the gray, and we'll laugh. Like, I saw Ari Shaffir live at Addison. Like, that's Ari Shaffir. He's very dark. He does a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, he's very dark.
He'll talk about anything that's on his mind. But
100%.
we all laughed the entire night because there's a lot of stuff that he didn't touch upon that he knows it wouldn't work here.
Right.
And it was like the Friday night show, so he had a Saturday and a Sunday coming up too.
And Friday night's rough. Friday night's Friday late show is rough.
Yeah, and he's not doing a Thursday show. He's like, I'm doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm out. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not like Dave Attell. He added more dates to his Addison show. He's got
But
Thursday
Attell,
days
I mean,
and stuff.
dude, I might check out the Attell show. That's David, like Skanks for the Memories, bro. That's such a good album, man.
Things like roast battles are one of my favorite things to watch.
Roast battles. So I'm in like a small little writing crew.
Okay.
Like a small little crew. I think I love these guys. This is my crew. Shout out to my crew: Emily Griefer, Arun Rama, Pung Dung, David Diaz. You know these guys. Like Emily Griefer, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's roast queen, man. She's won a lot of roast competitions.
Really?
In our little writing crew, she is the roast. Like she always does roast battles and stuff. She'll always be doing roast battles. She'd be winning roast battles.
Wow.
She'll crush them, dude. She'll crush them. Yeah. She got that personality for it too. You know what I'm saying? So
Like that dark humor and stuff.
well, yeah, but it's just she's very confident. She knows exactly. Like she's a good writer, very good
Okay.
writer. So I would say I would even recommend her for the podcast and stuff. You know, so
I got to check her out live.
100%,
I'll do
dude.
it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'll find a spot that she's gonna be at hopefully soon and
Yeah,
check
hell yeah,
her out.
yeah.
And definitely love to invite her on.
yeah.
What's the writing process? So you say you're part of a writing crew, but how does it go from a thought to an idea to something that you're gonna do on stage?
The thought could be, it like okay, so I could wake up in the middle of the night, right, and I'll text myself this little thought that I had that is funny. In the next like 48 hours or something like that. I'm pretty good about like whenever I do that, like I'll sit down and I'll try to expand on that, on what I was thinking.
Okay.
I have a pretty large notebook. I don't know if other people do this, but I have this notebook. I have a larger notebook instead of a smaller one because the way I write, like I'm trying to get to like the punchline by the third line. Like I'm trying to do like, hey, if the setup should be like the first two lines, and if I can get to the punchline of the second line, better. But if I can get to the punchline of the third line, that's the way I do it. Like I'm not trying to, not the punchline, but just a laugh. Like there should be a laugh coming in.
So your word economy starts from the page.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have a laugh like every like what, like 10, 15 seconds kind of thing. Like you want.
I think to go back to Ari, I started watching his. He did like a breakdown of his own comedy special, Jew.
Yeah.
And it's like a two-part thing. It's like 7 hours long. I
Yeah.
haven't watched the whole thing. It'll take me a while. But he begins by saying, like, within the first 60 seconds, he's gotten like 3 laughs already. So I think you're breaking it down properly, like 15 to 30 seconds.
Yeah,
should
you
be having
want something
people
like
laughing.
that. Yeah, exactly. So, and Dallas humor is very. We get a melt. I think this is really cool because we're kind of in Central, right? So we get a good mix of that New York and L.A. The
Yeah.
influences that we're very New York very quick, right? Very quick. Like let's keep going. Very word. L.A. very act out, right? So in Dallas, I feel like you get like the quick jokes, but then you'll get like an act out too. You'll get like an act out to follow it too, which it's different. It's just we're very quick with our comedy. We get to the punchlines fast. Like that's.
Yeah, I've noticed that. And what I've also noticed is that sometimes people do stuff in Texas that they think is going to fly, but it doesn't. Like, certain things you should just don't touch upon. Religion is one of those. Just kind of leave it out.
Some people are.
It's almost never happened.
It depends on the type of comic you want to be. It depends on the type of like if you're a writer and if that's what you're passionate about, hey, you want to talk about abortion, maybe you want to talk about politics, maybe you want to talk about gerrymandering or the social discriminations between lower and middle class stuff. That's what you want to do. I feel like I have a different story to tell.
Yeah, like once you kind of make it a little bit big in your immigrant community, especially if your immigrant community happens to be like a couple of billion people around the world, then
Yeah.
you can blow up rather
Yeah, you can blow him.
quickly.
Yeah, for sure. It'll happen. So yeah, I remember finding about him when I got into comedy, and I was kind of blown away because I'd never heard about him before. And then when I found out about Raj, I was like, oh my god, this guy's all over the place. Like he's actually way more prominent than I thought. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Have you seen that one guy, and I don't know his name, and I apologize, but I don't know if he does stand-up, but he's mainly like on Instagram and TikTok where he's sitting in this very tranquil place going like, fuck your job.
Oh yeah,
don't
no,
worry.
that's a comedian too, right? That guy's a comedian.
Yeah,
too.
he's a comedian, dude. Like, I I think it's so hilarious what he's doing.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
he's got that tranquil music, and he's sitting by like a stream or something, and you're waiting for, like all people in the Western world, for some Eastern philosophy to kind of like guide you through life, and
Yeah.
he's just in like, fuck
And
your
then he
job,
just-
bro.
yeah,
Don't do it.
yeah,
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. So he
Screw
does
your
it.
boss. Love
Yeah,
that guy,
and
dude.
you'll see and you'll see this. You'll notice that there are South Asian comics, Indian comics that do the accent, and then there are Indian comics that don't do the accent.
But this guy's from India, right?
He's from India, I think, and that's why he does the accent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if he's from India.
I
I can't.
I think he's from India because I remember seeing him doing like a tour of America. Not that he lived in America, like he was
Okay.
doing like a world tour and a stop was parts
Yeah.
of America. I think he's originally or still does live somewhere in India,
Oh, okay.
which probably
yeah.
makes it like even more that funny to me.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I saw his clips come up here and there on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and people have shared him and stuff, but I don't really know too much about him.
Yeah, I don't know much about him either, but I just like because you were talking about
Yeah.
different Indian comedians, and I
Yeah.
was like, I wonder if this is the same guy by any chance, but I guess not.
There's a few now that I think are like the more younger generation guys, like Osama Siddiqui. He's one of them. Zayn Sharif, he's another guy.
I've heard Zane's name. I hadn't heard the
He's
first name.
he's got some stuff that's blown up on TikTok. I'm trying to think, man. There's another guy. There's another guy, and I'm not. Dang, I'm not saying his name. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But there's a few guys that are pretty cool. They're coming up in the scene. They're already kind of established. They're doing their thing. They're touring and stuff. So
Nobody get offended by the fact that he can't remember names.
yeah,
He's-
I also smoke weed too. So just put it on that.
He's 35.
Yeah.
He's expecting a child, has a full-time job, and is trying to build a comedy career. Somewhere along the line, the memory bank has to clear some information.
Dude, yeah, you know how it is. Most of the time, I don't listen to. We don't listen to music. I'm just listening to podcasts
Yeah.
in the car. I'm listening
Yeah.
to albums in the car.
I do the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like I think who was it a couple of days ago asked me. It was like, any good TV shows or movies you've seen recently? I was like, I haven't watched anything in a couple of years. All I ingest is documentaries, podcasts. That's it. Like that's all I find interesting.
If it's not a true crime documentary, if it's not a history documentary, if it's not a comedy documentary, it's like those are the only three things that are happening on our TV.
Oh no, man! I find myself watching like some really obscure documentaries on
Yeah.
Netflix. Like there was one, I think it was all about different types of art, and they dedicated an entire episode to like textiles and shit. I was
Oh, wow,
fascinated,
really?
man. I was just like sitting there going like, I don't know if it was Netflix or something else, but I was like, I was riveted by this.
Nice. I'm a big history guy. I love all the history stuff. So that's why like even the comedy history stuff, like watching the old school Lauren and Hardy,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Buster Keaton stuff, Charlie Chaplin stuff. I love all that stuff. Like
It's before a lot of
Mm-hmm.
what we understand as comedy is right now, but at the same time, it's like they were doing what was the best at that time.
yeah, I like watching old school Johnny Carson clips of like Bob Hope and
Do you watch
Rodney
Don
Dangerfield.
Rickles?
Yeah,
Oh
old school.
my
It's so good, so good. Even there's that Don Rickles, that Rodney Dangerfield, like that era of comics. They're so good, man. They're so good.
Even Carson, like
Carson, good too.
You know, they were really funny. Who's the other late night host at the time? It was Carson and there's somebody else, wasn't there? Like opposite Carson on the other TV network. There's always been two.
There was
Is
a
Letterman that old?
no Letterman.
Was Leno era, right?
So Letterman and Leno were fighting for Carson's spot. Do you remember that? That was like the late night war.
I don't remember that. I think I wasn't paying attention to
Well,
that.
I don't even think we were. We were kids. We were probably kids. We don't even know this. But so the history is that when Carson was going to get off the show,
Yes.
right? It was between Leno and Letterman, and everybody thought it was going to be Letterman.
You know
And
what's funny though? A bunch of people right now have no idea what the hell we're talking about because they don't watch TV.
They don't even know. They have no idea.
So for anybody that doesn't understand, if you wanted to become a comedian and make it in this world, Johnny Carson was your ticket because he would put you on the Late Show or the Tonight Show. Sorry,
yeah.
Tonight Show. And if you did a comedy spot, and it had to be clean because it was for network TV, you would be on track for bigger and better things if you did well on Carson, especially if he invited you back on to talk.
If you got invited to sit down
Yes,
next to him,
you did it. You
were
won.
guaranteed a sitcom probably after that.
Yeah, Carson was like, and that was like the old guard of Hollywood and
Yeah.
comedians trying to, because for most people that don't get it, like stand-up comedy doesn't pay shit until you really become big.
Yeah, it was back in the day. Stand up was different. There was a lot of gatekeepers.
Yes.
There's a lot of gatekeepers with social media now. With the advent of social media, and if you blow up, you blow up. You're like you can do whatever. You can get booked, whatever. But back then, it was all about getting the 5 minutes on Carson, and if you could get called over, your life was made.
Yeah,
And that was
and you were waiting for that phone call from some network going like, hey, let's do a development deal with you.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you get that call, and if you're a really big comedian, you're like, I don't want it.
I'm trying to think of the other talk show guy. I think I can remember the name, but I can't. Okay, so it's. Did you ever watch Seinfeld?
I did.
Do you remember when Kramer found that talk show host shit in the garbage, and he turned his apartment into that, and he was like, "This is from the blah 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 show or whatever. This is all." And back in the day, Seinfeld used to be on there. A couple up and coming. Gary Shandling used to come on this show, not the Mel Torme show. The
Arsenio Hall had a show.
Yeah,
Was that a lot later?
that was later. That's 90s.
That was later.
Yeah, I can't even remember, man.
It's obviously not Conan, and it's not Letterman. It's
This
not
is old school.
Leno.
This
Yeah,
is-
it's like, who is it?
This is when Carson was probably around. So this is old school stuff. You're no one watching this or is ever going to even know.
I can't for the life of me remember, but I do know that there was the two major networks, which was NBC and CBS back then, or was it ABC and whatever, one of those three letters, and they were always competing for the Tonight Show because this is, you have to understand, there is no this. Your
Back
only
then, yeah.
form of getting this is whatever was on the television, and you didn't have a DVR or a YouTube. You got to see it while it happened. So they were fighting for your eyes because that translated into census.
Yeah.
The census translated into advertising dollar, and this is how they made money.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the hell it was, though.
Man,
I
I
remember
can't even-
Leno and Letterman. I remember, Jimmy Fallon now.
It's not Bob Newhart.
and
It's older than that, dude. This is during
Bob Hope,
It's not. This is during the Carson times, not the Bob Hope show. No. This is something else.
which was also a
Yeah.
big deal back in the day.
So this is. I can't. I wish I was. If I was a better Seinfeld fan, I would know this.
I would too. Like my only memory of Seinfeld, because I never watched the entire show like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I would just catch it like whenever it was on. But my favorite episode, or at least the one that I remember, is when Kramer. Remember when he bought like 100 TVs or something, and these were the old tube TVs, and he put it in his living room, and then everybody just came and sat down, and the episode ended with them all watching a different show on like all these screens.
I can't remember that one. I don't remember him buying like all these TV.
I don't remember the entire episode up
Yeah.
until that very last 20 seconds or something.
Man,
or
I
2
can't-
minutes, dude.
I used to have a Seinfeld Seen It game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I used to destroy that game because all I would watch was back in college. I didn't have a TV or anything. I just have a laptop.
Yeah.
And my brother like torrented all the seasons of Seinfeld and gave them to me. So I would just get like blitzed and watch Seinfeld until like 3 a.m. in the morning.
We're talking about shit that like anybody, probably 30 and below, might not have a fucking clue
You guys know
about.
what Pirate Bay was?
Seriously,
Yeah.
dude. Like torrents.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. Now, true test. Were you pre-torrent IRC days when you were in like chat rooms downloading
I was
shit?
I was a Kazaa, LimeWire, BearShare guy. Like I started off, I destroyed these desktops, dude.
Dude, I
With
remember
the shit that we downloaded.
I remember all of that was just straight up. All you ever got from it was viruses and just random porn that you didn't request. Like you're downloading an episode of The Simpsons and it's just like midget porn, and you're like, why?
Whoa.
Why is this?
Oh my god! One time, I think I was trying to download like Dragon Ball Z shit, and I downloaded. Something happened, and right next to our clock was a dancing stripper, like a little stripper that was dancing.
Freaked you the fuck out, didn't
Yeah,
it?
and I remember I was like, "There's no way Mom is not gonna notice the dancing stripper by the time." Oh my god, how do we delete this? I had to like get one of my super nerdy friends to come through. We like completely rebooted the computer, but my dad's a programmer, right? He was like, who the fuck with the computer? Rebooted everything, like reset everything, you know, like.
And again, we should also preface this by saying that most homes didn't have one at that time, and the ones that did had a computer.
A computer
There's no cell phone with
in the living room.
None of that bullshit.
It'd be like between the kitchen and the living room, like some little area desk.
Yeah, like it wasn't ideal for like porn or anything like that.
Well,
And you're on a 56K modem, and like mom's getting a phone call every 2 minutes, and it fucks up the connection.
My parents moved the desktop into my room.
Oh,
sixth grade.
Yeah, I
like,
got one of those.
Yeah, that was like, this is the worst. I was like, this is the worst thing that could. That probably changed my life the most is when that fucking happened.
Well, yeah, I got a computer in my bedroom, and it's like Anarchist Cookbook, and you're like figuring out random shit.
Oh
and
yeah,
you're like,
also shit.
what is Satanism again? And you're like, oh wait, I don't want to be part of this. Delete, get out, and like.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into like really older comedians like Red Fox and them and like those guys?
So when I really get into like the deep dive of comedy and doing the comedy history thing, I tried to watch everything, like all the old school, the comics, like the Red Foxes, Sammy Davis Jr. Who else at that time I think is pretty big. I was a very big. This is way later, but Robin Harris.
Yeah,
I was stuck on Robin Harris for a long time.
Really? What about him?
I mean, that it was just for some reason, I don't know why I like connected with him. Like his comedy just appealed to me. Maybe because he was this guy that was just like, he was funny. The stuff was absurd, and then before he even really made it big, he passed it away. Right? He gets the HBO special. He's in all these little movies. He's in all these little bit parts in like House Party. He's doing I forget the director's name. I always forget the director's name. He's got all these little bit parts. He's funny, and he's a big part of the black comedy scene. And if you've ever watched Fat Tuesdays on Amazon Prime, that's a really good documentary about the black comedy scene in LA and stuff. So, and then he does the HBO special. After the HBO special, I don't even know what happens. I think like a month, 2 months later, he gets sick.
Yeah.
Passes away in his hotel room. Boom. That's it. And then who blows up? Bernie Mac and D.L. Hughley. All these guys that kind of take the personality of Robin Harris.
I was going to say, if you, again, want to treat yourself to something amazing, go watch the original Kings of Comedy.
I grew up on that.
Dude.
I grew up on that.
Like Bernie Mac, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer is on that. D.L. Hughley is on that. Who else is on there?
No, it's just four of them.
Is it the four of them? So it's Cedric, it's D.L. Hughley, it's Steve Harvey, and it's Bernie Mac, right?
So Steve opens, D.L. follows, then Cedric, and then Bernie closes.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Steve's the host. So.
For me, Cedric the Entertainer and Bernie Mac, like, they didn't have just a comedy thing for me. They had a bravado to.
Oh,
like,
Cedric.
They had this like stage presence where like you can command an audience, but the suits, the hat, the way that they spoke, the swagger. They had swagger before swagger was a thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you go watch Old School Def Jam, Old School Def Jam, you can see Cedric the Entertainer the first time he's on Old School Def Jam, and it's not like, it's not the Cedric that we know. It's not like,
No, he's just starting out.
He's just starting out.
He's
and someone was like, and you can hear someone heckle him from the audience in the Def Jam, and they're like, "Where you get your shoes from?" And he like doesn't even miss a beat. He's like, "From your mama's house" or something. And then he gets into a set, and he crushes. But you can see how he's gonna develop into this guy in Kings of Comedy, where he's doing these act outs with the cigarette. And he's doing the driving the car in space and doing the reverse and everything. Dude, it's so good. But yeah, love Cedric. Love Bernie is always a favorite.
Bernie Mac's. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was great.
Sad
Steve
to see him pass away.
Steve is so hilarious. DL is so hilarious. It was just a good.
Which is like, I don't think anybody knows Steve Harvey as a comedian anymore. They just know him as the host of the Steve Harvey Show, and they know him as the host of Family Feud.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things like that.
He did
the Miss USA pageant, and fuck that up.
Yeah, he's got all these random shows, but they don't know that he started off
No, man. Like you need to see what this man did when he was hilarious, because all of those guys, all four of them, just elevated not just black comedy, but they elevated comedy.
Steve was the first time I think when I watched comedy he had talked about, he was like, on his set he talks about the Big Mama, and that was the very first time I had heard the term Big Mama. He was like, we don't got no Big Mamas anymore. You know, he does that whole thing. We don't got no Big Mama. Big Mama would, yeah. Like I was like, that you just learn, you kind of take it in, and stuff.
But that's the best part of a good comedian is they'll teach you something and make you laugh at the same time,
100%.
and see a new way of looking at something.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, and that's kind of like as an immigrant comic, that's exactly what you want to do, right? You're like, hey, you know, I just want to show you a little bit into my life, like what it was like growing up here. What's it like having conservative Indian parents? What's it like marrying maybe someone that doesn't speak the same Indian but kind of different, you know? Like I'm non-vegetarian, she's vegetarian. That's a mixed marriage if you call me, man.
Which is like, that's a lot of things we probably don't understand. Like my culture, we're all the same.
Yeah.
Americans, you're American. That's it. Like it doesn't matter where you came from. Now you're an American kind of a thing. But like Indian, you can kind of break it down into like, we don't even speak the same dialect.
Yeah, we don't. Dude.
We exist in the same country, but we have no idea how to talk to each other.
The common denominator is English, you know, like, yeah.
Which is strange, right? Like, I had a friend, he told me that, like, all of college and, like, graduate school, it's all taught in English, right, in India? Is that true?
Yeah, it's English. I think it's all English stuff. So.
That's crazy. Like, so, like, once you get to out of high school and you want to, he is a physician, so he's like, you know, going to school and becoming a doctor, it's like you do it all in English. I mean, that's why we make good doctors in America.
This is how wild this country is. I walked into my parents' house one day, right, and it's an Indian. They're South Indians. They live in America and they're watching Korean dramas on Netflix.
Translated at the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. There, and I was like, I remember just kind of staring at that and I'm being like, this is not happening in India. You know, this is happening here. This is happening here in Texas, bro. Like in Dallas, Texas, they never in my life, I'm pretty sure my parents would be like, oh yeah, we were going to watch this Korean soap opera, you know, like, so.
That kind of like sums up America. If you want to look at it the way it really is. See, that's the problem. Is like from the eyes of an immigrant, we probably don't understand what the hell they're talking about when they say like, oh, racism and this and this. You're like, man, just shut up. Be happy with what you have right now. Slowly change what you don't like about it, because this is the best it's ever been, dude. It may suck for you, but go anywhere else and you'll understand what suck actually is.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Like, I don't care. Go to Mexico, dude. Where's your freedom? Where's your constitutional rights? They'll tell you some of that shit, but do you really have freedom over there? I don't think so. And it's not that far away. It's like a 3-hour drive.
It's the...
No offense to Mexico. It's their country. It's the way they've set it up. It's probably good for them. And it's just the way their culture sees the right way of doing it. Even London doesn't give you the First Amendment. We're the only place in the world that gives this to you.
Yeah, it's wild.
You got to understand the gravity of what that actually means and not screw it up.
No, 100%.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
No, I totally hear you. I think it's not something to be taken lightly. Like we have comedians have fought over this stuff, right? Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
Lenny Bruce. The only reason you see comedians able to say fuck and talk about all this shit that we talk about is because people before us fought for this shit.
Didn't he take that all the way to like the Supreme Court or some stuff?
And took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
And he talked about it on stage, and
and then he
they
did it on
ruined
TV.
his life too. By the way.
He kind of did it on his own too. He had the drug problems. And stuff.
He had a drug problem, but can you imagine the unimaginable stress of
100%.
going up against the federal government, and you're alone?
Yeah.
And you're the first to do it. You're trying to set a precedent, like,
and you win.
Yeah.
And you win. Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's one thing that if you look at the history of anyone that has allowed you to have a voice today, which most people don't want to do that, you will see the amount of struggle they went through, and you wouldn't disrespect them.
No, I feel you.
That's the way I look at it. It's like, you know, a lot of people, blood, sweat, and tear, probably died for you to be able to sit here and complain about nothing.
No, 100%.
I don't know. Just
No, I
an
agree. It's
opinion.
like it goes back to it goes for especially for immigrant comics. Like we don't we need to like brown comics. Like yeah, we have Russell Peters, but it's not even us, bro. It's like the all the black comics that came before us. That's who we owe our respect to because those guys. If we don't have those guys, if I don't have the Red Fox, if I don't have the Sammy Davis Juniors, if I don't have all these traveling black comics, right? There's no Russell Peters. There's no Hari Kondabol. There's no Hassan. There's no other Indian comics. There's no immigrants comic coming into the mix, you know, without those people breaking those barriers first, kind of thing. So, dude, you talk about comedy. I'm gonna go. I love comedy history. Like that's just one of those. I get into it for a while and stuff. So
I guess I found I learned from this podcast that for some reason I have a plethora of comedy history in this head. I don't know why it's there, but it's there, and there's got to be a reason for it, which means it made an impact. Because things don't stay in my head unless there's a reason for it to stay there. So to that extent, like, yeah, I don't know why I have comedy in my head, but I know why you have it because it's a passion, and it's like you wanted to go down that route.
100%.
So like you started studying the greats.
yeah, I'm a big like in just history stuff in general. So I was just reading stuff on Wikipedia. So I could read Wikipedia all day, kind of stuff. So then just reading about comedians, watching documentaries and stuff. Like it's great, man. You gotta understand some of this stuff, like where we come from, like what people have done before you,
Right.
right? So
You have to know the past to understand the present in order to pave the future.
yeah, exactly.
I think it's very important.
Very
So to that, I want to ask you one last question.
okay.
And so let me set it up. A lot of comedians, especially the ones that are successful, speak about finding their voice. And I'm interested to know, as you doing it for 3 years and studying different comedians, and I know there's those that were really big influences and the ones that you idolized. Did you always have your own voice, or did it take you time to kind of figure out who you are as a comedian?
I think I'm still in the process
Okay.
of still finding that voice. I think 3 years is nothing, man. I think when I tell people I'm still a baby. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm 3 years, I'm still a baby. You're like 7 years in, 8 years in. I think you got to consistently be writing, right? I think to really kind of figure out stuff. People say like, hey, your voice sets in like I think 6-7 years, kind of maybe, right? But until then, it's very much a free for all of how you want to perform and figure things out.
I've kind of like, not that I've had the opportunity to interview too many people that have been decades into comedy, but what I have heard is that there really is no timeline of finding your own voice. Like if you think about Chappelle, he had his voice at 13.
Yeah.
Could be savant level of in comedy if that could exist, but I don't know if that's the one thing that I find so interesting about stand-up comedy is there is no game plan. There is no blueprint for how to do this. You got to do it your way. That is the blueprint. If you don't do it your way and you're not genuine, you will never succeed.
There's no one's got a guideline.
Right. Like
No,
you know how to you can go to acting school and learn the camera angles and where to look and how to memorize lines and all this other stuff, but like where's that for comedy?
But at the end of the day, you got to make the movie.
Yeah.
You got to make the first step. You got to get on stage and start talking. And then you'll this whole game is like networking and talking to people. And, you know, you got to, at the end of the day, you have to be funny, right? You have to deliver. You get opportunities.
I think that's important.
Whatever opportunities you get, you have to deliver because when you deliver, then you get other opportunities after that. And then it's just a kind of a growing thing after that. You know, like that's the whole plan. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen like a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months, a year from now, whatever. You're just like, let me keep my blinders on. Let me just keep writing, keep getting up on stage and just trying to keep getting out there. That's it.
Yeah, I think you never know if you're in some show in Arkansas and a promoter for Hulu or Netflix is sitting there and they're like, and 3 weeks or 2 months pass by and they're like, hey man, that guy would be amazing for something coming up like Letterman Presents or
Yeah.
That Snoop Dogg had a comedy
Yeah.
thing that he did, and like it was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But yeah, I think you're very correct, and that's the other thing. It's like a mystery of comedy. You never know where that phone call is going to come from, where
Yeah.
you kind of like make it big.
I was told this very early from comics that I respect. This is a pipe dream, man.
Yeah.
This is a pipe dream. This is a very, you got to realize that. So, knowing that, knowing what it takes, knowing what you have to do for it, do it wholeheartedly. You know, don't give up on it. There's going to be rough days. There's going to be tough days, but you just got to keep going. Put your head down and keep kind of going. So, that's just I think that's all of us right now. So,
No better words to live by, man. I couldn't agree with you more.
yeah, hell yeah.
On that note, I wanted to say thank you for taking the opportunity to come here and let us into a little bit of the journey of you as a comedian and you as a person. Tell people how they can find you, where they can kind of like follow you on social media, and yeah.
Yeah. Facebook, Sri Raj, Instagram, Sri Raj Comedy, and then TikTok, Sri Raj Comedy. So all of those, I'm on there. I'm actively trying to put out clips, sketches, jokes, whatever. And then I do have a website, SriRajComedy.com. I got to update it, but I'm trying to be better about that too.
And Sri Raj is spelled SRIRAJ.
You got it. Yeah.
So it's not SH, it's SRI.
SRI. Yeah.
Shri, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you on the stage.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.